practice. And basically, we got to fit 40 hours into 4 days, especially for me. You know, unfortunately, he's not even here right now. He's still working, and I drive the rig to the race every weekend, and that's just how it is.
As our riders make their way down to the starting line and find their final few positions out there, who's going to have the best line into that first turn? Second, and row number 1, the XC1 Pro, off and rolling at the FMX Mill Creek GNCC. What a great jump off the line. Man, the adrenaline just gets flowing every time those starts go off. 17 machine of Drew Landers out of Monterey, Tennessee.
Looks like Bryson Neo into the number 2 spot. Where is Cole? There's Cole. Bryson Neo into the number 2 spot. Jared McClure into number 3. Cole Richardson in 4th.
The crew, there's Walker Fowler. He's in now. There goes some gas and, of course, the water bottle. No other issues. Nothing really going on. Walker in and out. So Walker does make the pit stop. Winners. And you got to wonder what's the inspiration there.
I totally feel like Walker's year last year has motivated him to, you know, he's not going to play that game again. He's had numerous championships for a reason. He's going to show them why.
There goes Bryson Neal through. There is 3rd and 4th place positions as well. And
they're all right there.
Yeah, still.
You know, Sneaky Snake has a name for a reason, Sneaky Snake, and we'll wonder if he's going to pull it off today.
You know, and this is when he gets in these positions right here, this is how he's able to
Absolutely. I think this is getting a monkey off his back from last year.
Oh, yeah, he definitely does. Walker Fowler into the final turns and sees the checker flag, and Walker Fowler gets redemption at the FMF Still Creek GNCC and takes the win here in 2019.
Down into an open grave. Is there another way? Is there another way? And the nails pound harder in the coffin light. Come and beat again, oh breathe again. Whoa. raise a concrete path. Is there another way? Is there another way? And the rain falls heavy on the waiting star. Come and beat again, I'll breathe again. Rise up from the dark, I see a light ahead. Away for us, away for us. Rise up from the grave, hear our call. Away for us, away for us.
Racing, like all motorsports, can be dangerous. Racers, now that you've had an opportunity to inspect the race course, like one of the race facilities. The spoils of GNCC, the sweet, sweet spray of champagne.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I remember coming here, shoot, back before I even raced. I was probably like 03, 04, 05, and I can remember some of the trails that I used to watch, and yeah, I've been coming here forever, so it's pretty cool to come here now and see myself on the shirt, and yeah, it's cool, but at the same time, you know, it's still the same objective. I want to go out here and win, and if I could do it anywhere, I wish it'd be here, but you know, I'm not going to jeopardize the championship for something here, but Caleb's already got like a 15-point lead, so try to close in on that a little bit, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Pretty good, but I got to say, I think you're more ready than that. Let's try it one more time. North Carolina, are you ready to go? GNCC Racing!
But absolutely, Trevor Bollinger, the hometown boy, the local favorite, we found out was nicknamed the Dale Earnhardt of Morgantown, West Virginia. Morgan, Virginia.
North Carolina.
North Carolina, my bad. Sorry. And,
Well, here we are, third lap, and yes, we are going to do a pit stop. We see Caleb going for the gas tank there.
Like they were going to need much, one of the two. Yeah, I think he's the last lap.
Here comes the number one now, Mick Kelly in for his pit stop. This is the leader of the XC2 Pro Lights class.
It's Duvall.
Oh, Duvall. Okay, Duvall, then Russell, then Bollinger. Okay, there we go. 1, 2, 3. And they're still nose to tail. Now, when they came to the finish line after that pit stop, they spread out. Now they're right back into that battle that we've watched basically since the flying of the green flag. You can see everybody out cheering them on. Lap riders just ahead of them. Will they play a factor in this race? The crowd gathering around here at Still Creek. It's a monumental race finish, and here it is. Thad Duvall will make it 2 years in a row at the FMF Still Creek GNCC.
wow, what a finish. Right down to the final turn.
GNCC Racing, the sweet, sweet play of champagne.
Welcome to the AMSOIL GNCC Racing Series presented by Specialized, an AMA National Championship. Well, here we are, Landon, Society Hill, South Carolina, for round number 4, the CST Tires Camp Coker Bullet.
Yeah, I think I know everyone loves this track here. It's we've been here for quite a few years now, and man, this place is just really good to us. We got a lot of cool things here for kids, activities, fishing, high jumps, rope swings, and like you said earlier, a race as well.
There is a race this weekend.
Yeah, and it's hard to even remember that with all the other cool stuff going on here this weekend, but no, I think the race is going to be really good today as well because we've had a lot of action in the bike side of things this year, and I think that's going to roll right into today.
You're exactly right. We come into it with 3 different winners. Thad, the most recent, Caleb's got a win, and Stu Baylor got to start with the season. Then, of course, the rest of the pack in the XC1 a couple weeks back.
Yeah, so we had a real barn burner at Steel Creek 2 weeks ago. I think Caleb, Thad, and Trevor pretty much checked out. They were back and forth all race long. It was Caleb Russell that led the last lap, or led most of the last lap, with maybe 2 miles to go. Got caught up in a little bottleneck. Thad was able to make the pass, got his first win for the year, and Caleb finished right behind him with Trevor not far behind. So I think that's going to continue on today. The race might have ended there, but we're restarting at ground zero today.
That's exactly right.
So it's going to be a good one to watch.
We'll see if maybe we don't have a 4th different winner here this weekend. And then, of course, the XC2 class.
Yeah, we've had good racing there too, but we have had one winner for all 3 rounds. Ben Kelly. He's on fire right now,
on rails.
And it's gonna be tough to stop him.
It's exactly right, and of course the FMF XC3, Cody Barnes on an absolute hot streak.
Yeah, seriously, he's I think he's won Georgia and Steel Creek now, 2 wins in a row. I know he's looking to keep that going, but round 1 winner Jesse Ansley. I know he's ready to get back up on that top step.
Gonna have something to say about it for sure. Well, that's gonna do it for the little preview right here. Now let's take it to Jared Bolton with a track description.
Thanks, guys. We're here at the beautiful Camp Coker Bullet for this week's Yamaha track description. I say this every week. This is another great race course. There's a reason this race has grown in popularity the past few years. You see behind me, this place is full of ponds like this. There's rope swings, there's zip lines, there's all sorts of stuff to do in addition to the racing. When it comes to the racing, this place is absolutely awesome as well. There's some really, really fast field sections, and then there's some really tight woods. So this truly gives something for everyone. There's some fast flowy trails as well, and then there's even the old Camp Coker motocross track. It's a defunct motocross facility that hasn't been open for about 10 years now, but we breathe life back into it, make it look like it's brand new, and it really had something cool to this race for us. Overall, this is a beautiful facility with some great racing. It's going to be a great weekend. That's this weekend's Yamaha track description. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Bolton. Looks like we got a really good track out there today, as we always do here at Camp Coker Bullet. But I think that's it for us here.
That's it. Let's take it down to Rodney Tomlin, down on the start line.
Camp Coker.
Right now in the hopes of putting together another win after last week's, 2 weeks ago, I guess you could say, at Steel Creek, and a near win here just a year ago, man. Camp Coker is certainly a place that offers up some great battles.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a good day. The weather's nice, so the rain falls off, and she does. I feel like the track's going to be awesome, and hopefully some good racing.
No doubt about that.
Soil's perfect. You feel today too, right?
I'm sure I'm ready. I feel good. I feel perfect. So we'll see how today goes.
Well, everything seems to be perfect. Let's see how perfect this race is. But right now, it's... And rolling to the line first. Back by F. Racing, Boonville, North Carolina, Caleb Russell. Rolling to the line second today, points aboard the 989, fresh off a win at Steel Creek just 2 weeks ago. From Williamstown, West Virginia, on a Rockstar Energy, Factory Husqvarna Racing, Duval. Line 30, the opening round win in the sands of Florida aboard the 514 from Hodges, South Carolina on a T-Lee Energy Racing KTM, Stu Baylor. Rolling points, he rides aboard Rockstar Energy Factory Racing, Trevor Bollinger. Josh Cho. Rolling to line 6 today aboard the 114. National Cross Country Champion from Australia online. Saki. Riding aboard the Livingston, Tennessee on a Babbitt's G Kawasaki, Gordon Ashburn. Rolling to the line today for the number 410 from Birdsboro, Pennsylvania on a Phoenix Honda Racing Honda, Andrew DeLong. Rolling to the line next, he is 9th in points, number 121 from Iowa and Pro, Corey Buttrick. And up next, he rides aboard the number 377 from Valparaiso, Indiana on a CTR Motors FXR ATVs and more Yamaha, visiting from Club MX motocrosser Josh Osby. Also visiting from Club MX on board the number 285 here with us from Live Oak, Florida, it's Tony Archer. Court creates a lot of different barriers for these riders here, the wet sand. Big fluffy sand getting pushed up, big, nice, beautiful burn, big braking bumps and acceleration to create a great racing and great battles seen all weekend long here, and we witnessed history in yesterday's ATV Pro Race, able to capture his 75th win, tacking on one more to the all-time wins record, and of course stopping Walker Fowler's perfect record in 2019. His all-time ATV wins record. 1 minute, folks. History's already been made once here this weekend. Can we set some sort of things? We're about to find out. Will we have a fourth one, or will we? Well, 3 out. Blue flag comes out. Shut them down. Shut them down. Here in South Carolina, Coker. Come on, this is Raleigh, South Carolina, but this is Society Hill. This is the world famous Camp Coker. I'm going to ask you one more time. Camp Coker, are you ready to go GNCC racing? 10 seconds. Row number 1, the XC1 Pro will be up and rolling in our CST tires. Camp Coker Bullet GNCC. Around the first, Russell has about to look at the 120. Sweet things off here. They get that to roll to row number 2 now. Row number 2, our XC2 250, Craig DeLong, Ryder Lafferty, Austin Lee, Liam Draper, also Philip Cheney, Mike Witkowski, Ben Parsons, Alex Teagarden, Evan Smith, Brewer Cawley, JoJo Bowden, Ben Kelly, Matthew Keeper, Sam Evans, Zach Hayes, Trevor Barrett, and Jonathan Johnson in 10 seconds. Heard some machines start early. Don't know if it was on the XC2 row or not, but we see the 309 of Alex Teagarden on the Lansville XC Husqvarna Moose Racing FMF machine. That's actually Howie's master, Howie's dad. He's got a little dog, Boston Terrier, and I said that's how he is from now on. But Howie's dad out and rolling now. FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am, Joe Marsh, Anthony Federico, Jason Thomas, Michael Beeler, Chase Colville, Jesse Ansley, Talon Silkinson, and Cody Barnes in 10 seconds. Round in the first turn, it is the number 1 of Jesse Ansley going to take the early lead in this one. In this FMF XC3 125 class, hoping to win the championship again in this one. Open A coming up next. We got Zach Tussle, Nick O'Brien, Matt Kerbin, Josh Lee, James Murphy, Evan Earl, Jeremy Lanthier, Andrew Kent, Justin Leonard, Jake Hines. 10 seconds. Brady Myers, Cook Beckert, Zachary Hugel, Jason Lipscomb, Andrew Coffey, Alex Baroth, and Braden Moore. Zach Hugel out of Seneca, Pennsylvania. Good jump off the line for the 613 Yamaha. Will it pay dividends? No. 256 grabbing the early lead. Evan Earl from Blacksburg, South Carolina on the VER Reigns Racing Fly Racing back machine. 258 class, Simon Johnson, Chase Hayes, Ryder LeBlanc, Michael DeLosa, Robert Whitlock, Adam Thomas, Brody Johnson, Matthew Davis, Benjamin Wright, Bolton Baroth, RJ Cook, Brendan Poling, Trevor Getz, Michael McGee, Gavin Simon. 10 seconds. TJ Weber, Jacob Kintz, Joseph Logan, Hayden Earhart, Tyler Braniff, Josh Farrell, Cole Whitmer, Dakota DeVore, John Lee Campbell, Samuel Burrows, Andrew Gross, Tristan Landum, and Bryce Coster. Rounding that first turn now, it is the 29 machine of Simon Johnson from Bennington, Vermont on a Trail Jesters KTM grabbing the early lead. The J-Day invasion continues as we roll into the 4-stroke A lights class now. Braxton McGee, Jacob Chrisman, Gatlin Welborn, Tyler Soriano, Derek Mabey, Travis Reynaud, Justin Murphy, Blake Grindstaff, Adam Hollenkamp, Russell Smith, Alex Lugar. 10 seconds. Josh Guffey, Joe Spivey, Nathan Rector, Chad Lafollette, Trell Henderson, Grady Faint, Ian Flynn, Mitch Owenby, Tanner Coward, also Nicholas Haynes, Dalton Seals, Trevor Maley, Nathan Davis, Frederick Lewin, and Jake Easler. And at the stripe, it's going to be 460, 460. That's Trevor Maley from North Canton, Ohio on a Cooper Smith Husqvarna backed by Olean Suspension and Atlas Brace Technologies as we go next to the 200A class in 10 seconds. Sean Myers, Tyler Centrino, Zach Davidson, Logan Kiddick, Dominic Morris, Max Fernandez, Randall Irvin, Elliott Keegan, Dylan Simple.
199. Zach Davidson from Iron Station, North Carolina. Looked like he was going to have that and does as he threads the needle through the first turn. Grabs the early lead. Davidson on the Husqvarna USA Dunlop Fly and Chad Davis Racing Machine. As we go to the Vet A30 Plus class, Sam Forrest, Louis Oleon, Miquel Gomez, Garrett the Sandman Edmondson, Surly Amancio, Brent Beatty, Luenzo Sanchez, 10 seconds. Josh Wyatt, Steven Gonzalez, Buddy Barnes, BJ Bariska, Brandon Peterson, Steve Lambruno, Travis Beam, Matt Modick, and Bill Zavendi. Surly Amancio, good jump. Oh, look at that thread of that needle right to the inside. The 360 of Amancio from New Milford, Connecticut comes out on top in this Vet A30 Plus class. Senior A40 Plus class, Shotgun Sean Remington, Frank Tussle, John Beaver, Gregory Richardson, Bob Bergman, Josh Hackett, Ken Anderson, Bo Hamlet, Larry Sylvia, Jamie Dexter, Jason Stickley, and Eric Rosenbush ready to roll in 10 seconds. Senior A plus 40. Who's it out front? We got a Cowie rider. That is 946, Eric Rosenbush from Beach Mountain, North Carolina. As we go to the Junior AB 25 plus, Andrew Boggs, Jesse Kildo, Nick Mellinger, Andrew Matusik, Bailey Parker, Tyler Brutton, Joseph McCarty, Wiley Brownell, Landon Smith, and Matthew White in 10 seconds. Well, Tyler Brutton out of Troutman, North Carolina. Good jump. Oh, wow. Oh, mercy sakes alive. Oh, stop, man. Stop. Good God. Leg caught up in that rear wheel. I missed who got that one, but I believe that's Brunton tied up in the rear of that tire. Man, oh, man, what a hard one that was. Ryder did not see that. He kept throttling with his leg stuck in the back of that machine. Open B class coming up next. We got Matt Swords, Jacob Harmon, Steve Gold, Isaac Cole, Andrew Cohen, Hunter Barron, Ryan Bierman. Also Brendan Bishop, Michael Davis, Jared Miranda, Colton Hawk, Brandon Bollinger, Zach Gruber, Michael Modick, Jared Messer, Joshua Webb, and Peyton Harden. Good to see him walking off the side of the track. We're ready to go. Ricky Towery says, get ready to roll in 10 seconds. Triple Nichols, Colton Hawk from Petersburg, West Virginia on the Tri-County Yamaha. Great jump, but man gets pinched off up there. Peyton Harden from Stamping, Kentucky on a Trigger Concepts Fly Racing FMF back machine. Senior B40 Plus class, Gene Swivel, Wes Morris, Leon Whittaker, Frank DeFeo, Igor Soares, Adam Miller, Mike Hoare. Igor Soares from Marlborough, Massachusetts, grabbing the early leads. Tanner Patterson, Bryce Alkine, Andrew Tinkler, Tyler Daniels. Frank Brown, Ethan Schultz, Josh McCoy, Daniel. First turn, first 230s. That's Alexander. Now 250 feet in less than 10 seconds. Kyle Prismont, Garrett George, Garrett Austin Hobatter, Buggy Funk, Philip Dak, Benny Langer, Landon Ray, also Gatlin Combs, Trevor Riley, James McElvain, J.P. Bolzer, Warren Friend, Bradley Chapman, Justin Moulton. Alan Nolting, Dylan Gore, John Hobbs, Chesty Grove. Sorry about that. That missed that one. That might have been looking over that Kawasaki pilot down there. That might have been Gatlin Combs grabbing that early lead. We'll have to go back and look at some things on that one. But regardless, the race is off. 2 other B classes off. Next, we got Max Russ, Trent Gaither, Nolan Olstein, Wyatt Liebeck, Tanner Collins, Ezra Judd, Noah Haynes, and Patrick Murray in 10 seconds. And they're on. Man, I did not see that number. Let's see if we can catch it. Oh, we got things changing up. Who's it going to be? 404. That's Tanner Collins from Crooksville, Ohio on a bonsai suspension 6's lawn care. Kendra's Dirt Prodigies. 10 seconds. That beat 30 plus. Ross Kennedy, Travis Unson. Looks like Josh Carvey, Ian Treblefield, Tyler Carr, Gary Bissing, Robert Johnson, William O'Brien, Peter Modify, Clint Fryer, Drew Gorey, Sam Bishop, Michael Swartz, Christopher Wagner, Jonathan Ball, Ernie Martin, David Murray, James Mayhew, and Robert Creel. And at the stripe, it is the 352, I believe, of Joshua Carey from Aurora, Indiana on a Rhino Power, Stacy Mundy Photography, Thornton's Motorcycle Sales Machines. And lo and behold, that's it. That's going to wrap up this start here for this Camp Coker Bowl at GNCC. Some well over 200 riders now traversing the trails of this soils of South Carolina. Will we have a 4th winner? Will we get a repeat winner? What's going on out there right now? Stick around. GNCC Live continues right after this.
Consistent clutch fuel is vital to effective starts or to confidently maneuver around obstacles on the trail. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil was subjected to an extreme simulated start test. After 32 simulated race starts, AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil continued to deliver consistent clutch fuel, and the clutch plates remained clean with no visible wear. The competitor's oil, however, allowed discoloration and significant wear after just 16 starts. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil. Give your bike the protection it needs.
Spanning over 3 decades, one name has taken the lead for supplying the best powersport parts, accessories, and apparel to fuel your passion. One name that knows it goes beyond getting you the best prices, quickest shipping, or largest selection. One name that builds and innovates for our industry. One name that teaches, helps, and supports our fellow riders, racers, and organizations. We are Rocky Mountain ATVMC. Visit us today and experience the best in OEM and aftermarket parts, accessories, apparel, and industry-leading information. Get free shipping on orders over $75, free apparel exchanges both ways, and the best customer service. Experience one name that leads all others. Rocky Mountain ATVMC. Get ready.
Speed has its price. Fortunately, it's super affordable. The Specialized Speed into Spring Sale with up to 40% off March 15th through 31st. The faster you visit your local Specialized dealer, the faster you ride.
The all-new Yamaha Wolverine X2. With a compact chassis perfect for exploring tight technical terrain. An ultra-quiet and smooth 850 class twin-cylinder engine. And next-level versatility with a 600-pound dumping cargo bed. No other side-by-side delivers this level of proven off-road performance. The all-new Wolverine X2 from Yamaha.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Cometic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment, whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends. Professionals and enthusiasts depend on Cometic. Cometic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
This Racer TV broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. Specialized Turbo e-bikes. It's you, only faster. And by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready. And welcome back to GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com. I'm Rodney Tomlin along with Landon Wolf and Mikey Waynes here at the CST Tires Camp Coker Bullet GNCC. It is round number 4 of America's premier off-road racing championship, the 2019 AMSOIL GNCC Series presented by Specialized. And here we are today in Society Hill, South Carolina at Camp Coker, a very famed motocross track from back in the 80s and 90s. And of course, a lot of big names turning laps on this one in history. And now we've got big names turning laps out there to write new history here at Camp Coker. And as they get it all sorted out here on lap number 1, let's check in with some of the riders to find out how they were feeling heading into this weekend's race.
No, this track layout here is it's fun. It's unique. It depends on the moisture content. It can be really hard packed, dry, slick, and if it's the right amount of moisture, the place is awesome. It's got a lot of weird mud holes, and most of them are in the fields. Most of them are actually in a lot of camera shots. So it's a good viewing area, especially with the amount of rain that we've had. We're definitely going to have some treacherous conditions in a lot of spots, just the low-lying areas, the spots where it's got the black swamp dirt. But in between, I think it's going to be great racing as long as the rain somewhat holds off for our races, and hopefully we can get all the quad billies to knock all the water holes out.
Track's looking really good out there. It's still got a good bit of moisture in it. I think either way, it's gonna end up being fine. I mean, there's still so much sand here. There's little soft spots that are always going to be around in this place, little sinkholes. But even if it rains, it ain't gonna hurt anything.
I'm glad it rained this week and got some moisture in the dirt. I've ridden here when it's wet and ridden here when it's dry, and it's much better when it's wet. So I'm hoping the rain even comes in today.
Yeah, you know, the track here is going to be pretty gnarly if we get a lot of rain. Hopefully no rain. The track looks awesome. You know, there's some places, this place is pretty tricky, like it's sandy, but it has some really bottomless bogs in it, kind of gets really ruddy. And if it rains, it's definitely going to be a survival race. If it doesn't rain, I think it'll be awesome. So still, you have to pick good lines or whatever. I really enjoy this place. You know, I've had some really good rides here and had a battle with Caleb again last year. So just, excited to be here. This place is awesome atmosphere. It's laid back. You can do fishing and hang out with all the kids or whatever. So it's just a fun weekend, and, you know, the track's shaping up to be pretty good.
Yeah, not sure about the rain today, but I biked the track yesterday and then this morning, and I mean, it looks good. Last year we came here and it was super dry. So in the fields it got real dusty, and it just got real. The dirt here it's almost like a different track this year. It has more sand to it, I think, because it's a little bit wetter. So I think it'll be better for racing today. Not so much dust and that sort of stuff. So it'll be good.
Welcome back to GNCC Live. I'm Mikey Waynes, be joined alongside the one, the only, with the iconic 10-second call, Rodney Tomlin, as well as our very own Johnny Gallagher, Johnny G, will be joining us in the booth as well for that expert analysis of the rider's perspective. You got the racer, Camp Coker, CST Tires, Camp Coker Bullet yesterday on the ATV side of things. So he'll be giving us the input from that rider perspective throughout today's race. 3-hour race for you here today at the CST Tires Camp Coker Bullet here in beautiful, picturesque Society Hill, South Carolina. We got about an 11.5-mile track here today. Mixed sandy terrain, 80 degrees, that partly sunny. I'm going to put an asterisk next to that, and that's because we have dodged rain all weekend long. Not so much the case right now. It's been that's been nuts. There's been high winds. We got more in the forecast. We've had it started downpouring for a whopping 1 minute. We had a little panic attack, but nothing too major. We've been pretty fortunate so far, but it will be interesting to see over the next 3 hours how that rain comes and goes, if it's going to affect this race at all. So we'll just have to wait and see. Play the waiting game right there. I believe we're going to take a look now at the track map coming in here to today's race. Give you guys an idea of what we're looking at. We got about an 11.5-mile course for you today. This is the Yamaha Racing track map you guys are looking at right now. A little bit of everything. Obviously, we've got the FMF PowerPoint up there at the top left of your screen, and we'll have the Monster Mile as well. And those white dots, those are indications of where we've got our camera shots set up for today's race. So those are where we'll keep you in the loop on that. And I believe yesterday we had a pretty cool little feature. We had a live track map. It's not 100% accurate, but you guys will be able to see kind of the bird's eye view of these guys and where they're at on the track. So be looking for that later on here in today's race. But there you go, 11.5 miles of what has been reported from the riders here yesterday and this morning as a gnarly track. I mean, it has been rough. A lot of people said, man, this is more rough. This was tougher than round one in Florida, the sand. So, yeah, we got a little bit of everything. You heard Stu Baylor talked about it in the interview, which I believe we'll get to later today. But a lot of, mud holes out there. So dodging those things or just confronting them in general. It makes for a very tough track. Camp Coker, an amazing facility, and outside of the racing, a lot of stuff to do. So if you are at home and you've always thought, maybe I'll get out there and race a GNCC, maybe Camp Coker, yeah, definitely race Camp Coker. It is an incredible race. To get things started, it was Jordan Ashburn. Caleb Russell, we understand, is out in front now, but Jordan Ashburn got the whole shot out of the XC1 class. It was Alex Teagarden setting the bar, getting out in front of the guys in the XC2, and Jesse Ansley looking for some redemption today out of that FMF XC3 class. So we'll see if Jesse Ansley can hang on to a win, but the last couple of rounds, it's been all Cody Barnes up there taking that center spot on the box. So that's how things are shaping up. Johnny G just lost his bike. He said, forget it. It's fine. I'm here. It's Racer TV time. Johnny joining me in the booth now. Johnny, we just took a look at that track map. 11.5 gnarly miles of what sounds to be a pretty intense GNCC track.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been really tough on the course officials this weekend trying to handle not necessarily the weather that came in this weekend and a little bit of rain showers like you were just talking about dealing with today, but this Camp Coker GNCC course has been really soaked prior to this weekend. Not something we were honestly expecting coming into it. We knew there was rain in the forecast. Everybody was panicking about that, but that was honestly the least of our worries.
Yeah.
And we see the leaders on screen, and there is Caleb Russell getting all kinds of whiskey across that straightaway. And I got to tell you, Mikey, that is a sketchy little section there. You come in, you're carrying so much speed across that straightaway, and then those ruts, and it just sucks all your momentum, and I'm not at all surprised to see that bike just dance underneath him. What I'm also not surprised to see is on his rear wheel, the 989 factory Rockstar Husqvarna, Thad Duvall. These two, man, it just seems like when the race gets going, they're like two magnets. They just find each other.
It's kind of funny with everybody panicking about the weather, Johnny. It almost had this feeling of like, all right, come on, let's go. Let's get this race started. Everybody was kind of on edge, panicking about the weather. Nobody had time to panic about the race, and now it's like, hey, we're thrown right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. The weather has kind of been the story of the weekend so far as we see these guys. Look at them just doubling through those rollers like they're not even there. Looks like third place might be others. In fourth, I believe that was Bollinger. It's hard to tell from this shot who those guys were, but
well, we had a couple Club MX guys out there.
Yeah,
that might have been them.
I see Lane Michael there. That was the 523 machine doubling his way through there, and it looked like most of the XC1 guys still very much together. And here comes our XC2 leader, and I bet we can guess who it is. And in fact, it is. It is the number one, the factory FMF KTM of Ben Kelly out front in that XC2 class, and wow, another fast start for him today here, Mikey. He's really just kind of making a habit of this, just picking his way into these XC1 guys on corrected time on the first lap.
Yeah, he's been in first on adjusted time a couple times. Not finishing the race, but certainly up there fighting for it. And yeah, this seems to be his new routine is, hey, get up in front of the XC2 guys, work into some of the back of the pack of XC1, and then just slowly start chipping away at those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he's got a big jump there that he's got a big gap that he needs to make up to get to the back of that XC1 class. You know what, I'll tell you what, a fast starter, but it looks like he is more than a minute behind there. So I would not be surprised if there we see the 282 Beta of Mike Witkowski. There is another rider in between there that I believe is a second-place rider. There we see him going the other way, but we've not yet been able to get a clear shot of who that is. Maybe they'll follow him through the rollers here. Could be an XC1 guy that's fallen off the back. Again, can't tell from that shot there, but we do know third place, we believe, in that XC2, but for sure the next XC2 rider that we saw, the 282 of Mike Witkowski, another rider that's really been a fast starter the last couple races. I think he's got himself a couple of those whole shot awards and done well putting himself on the podium several of these first races this year. There's the 300 of Ben Parsons. Now out on the moto track. Here we go to VP Fuels Pro. Caleb Russell pitching something into his pit. I believe that may have been his GoPro off the top of his helmet. He reached up, broke the glue, and threw it into the pit and said, yep, don't need this thing. Now look, a new second-place rider. It looks like Josh Strang there into second. What has happened? Thad Duvall all the way back to about sixth place.
Thad falling off the pace.
I think he may have made a stop there. It almost looked like he worked his way. Now keep in mind, Thad was snake bit by Fuel here 2 years ago. Big to do with him ending up pitting outside the pro pits. Look at this. Josh Toth in the pits. They can't find his goggles. Oh my goodness, Rodney, what do we have going on here? This is not what you want to see at the end of the first lap.
It's not what you want to see on the first lap, but at least from a racer standpoint, from a spectator standpoint, it certainly creates a little bit of drama here. And we recognize that something must be going on out there on that track. And from yesterday, it has its areas out there that has its challenges. So we see that those goggles probably got wasted. We've seen Caleb Russell ripping his GoPro off the top of his helmet. Something out there has got these guys challenged out, and it is creating a situation where they really need to focus on what's going on and reset, it looks like there, for that XC2 rider as he tries to get those goggles on and try to get things back to going. But man, what a
that was actually Josh Toth.
Josh Toth. I think it's been Kelly, but it was Josh Toth. But man, just you got to wonder what's going on. You were out there yesterday, Johnny, and I mean, what we see a lot here on camera is a lot of this dry sand. I mean, there are some wet areas, darker areas, but there's a lot of those low-lying areas out there that have created some havoc, and we saw a lot of changes taking place yesterday during the ATV race also.
Yeah, there's so many places of this Camp Coker course that can jump up and bite you without you expecting it. It kind of looks unassuming as you're working your way around the course, but I got to be honest, when you actually get out there and get hard on the throttle. Do we have a new leader in XC2? It looks like Liam Draper. Yes, folks, we have a leader. This is not Ben Kelly. Liam Draper checking in. Is that the leader, Rodney?
Yes, it is, and he checks in 9th place overall, so he is the leader in the XC250 Pro class. And even though we haven't seen this, and we haven't he hasn't been on the radar, he's just been kind of like there. He's not really been a factor. It doesn't seem like in a lot of the races. I myself have expected this to happen. I really expected to see it happen sooner. So as big a surprise as it is to see Draper out front right now, I'm really not surprised because I expect this is where he should be a lot more often.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, though, because he must have made up a good bit of ground between the moto track and the finish, which is only about a 2-mile section of track. And, man, that's a big charge he put in that section because he was a solid 30 seconds behind Ben Kelly. Now, again, it looked like Ben Kelly was a little bit late coming in.
Yeah,
so you got to believe that Ben may have gone down out there.
Ben actually turned in Ben was 9 seconds behind, so he's 10th place behind Liam Draper in the overall status right now, but 10 seconds basically behind Liam Draper. Josh Toth then drops to 11th place overall. Mike Witkowski checks in 3rd place in the XC2 250 Pro class. He's 12th overall. Then Austin Lee finally seeing that Phoenix Honda rider up where we expect to see him riding as well. He's had it seems to be a few struggles through the first 3 rounds of racing.
Yeah, a rider that was really strong throughout the end of 2017 specifically, and then last year showed some flashes of brilliance. really hasn't shown anything that we were expecting of him so far this season. And after the races, he seems to be frustrated and angry. So, a lot of things going on there that could be holding him back. But today, getting a good start, and he seems to be up front early.
Ryder Lafferty behind him. He would be 5th place in the class, and that puts him in a 14th place overall. There's the 377 of Josh Osby checking in. I think that makes him 10th place in the XC1 Pro class, if I'm not mistaken. And just to give you a little history, Josh Osby, a motocross racer, actually races for, I got that here, CT, well, the neat little story about he and his mechanic over here today that are with us, believe it or not. But Tony Archer and Josh Osby riding for CTR Motorsports, FXR, and ATVs and more. Training over at Club MX. Actually, Toner, a former racer himself, now turned mechanic for the team. He and Tony raced the Ironman last year, decided they wanted to come back out and give it another try. We're close to Club MX in South Carolina, so they said, come on over. Let's head on over and do it. And that's exactly what they're doing. So welcoming a couple of moto guys out to GNCC here this weekend.
Yeah, and Archer may be a retired guy, but Josh Osby still very much active. In fact, I believe in the top 10 or at least the top 15 in East Coast Supercross lights points currently. So on a break, it was a West Coast weekend. What a perfect weekend for him to come out and try his hand at GNCC.
That's pretty awesome to see guys visiting like that and see some successes as he currently runs still in a top 20 overall position. As we break some more classes down, let's give you a top 10 in the XC1 Pro class again. No overalls adjusted into this, just class top 10. And that, of course, includes Caleb Russell out front, Josh Strang in second. This is someplace we haven't really elaborated on this. I don't know if you and Mikey did earlier in the lab or not, but this is a great place for Josh to be. He's obviously got the speed to do it. The one thing that he's been lacking this year, I think, as much as anybody, is those starts and being able to latch on with that front group and hang with them. Right now, we see that he has. And how long will he be able to hang on is another big question that we have. But in order to figure out what the pace is, and he even said it earlier today in his pre-race report when I talked to him, he said, I've got to get up there and run with him, see what the pace is to see where it is and what I got to do to maintain that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and Josh is a rider that confidence is key for. When he gets things going on his way and on his side, he really rides well, rides with confidence, and can get up there and bang bars and beat the best in the world. And he himself is obviously one of the best in the world, a former GNCC champion, a multi-time race winner. Over his career, he's banged bars with the best and come out on top of all of them, more than on occasion.
Right.
But this season's been a bit of a struggle for him. I mean, obviously I think his results have been kind of top 6, top 7,
right,
top 5, just about every race. But that's not where Josh Strang wants to be, especially on this new team, trying to showcase this new bike, the shiny new hauler. And, they say no pressure, it's a first-year effort, but there's pressure. They want results. And the one thing I can say is, Josh kind of was steady through the first couple of rounds. And I think last race he seemed to be a little bit more off than he had been the first two, which was surprising because they had a couple of races under their belt. And then I'll tell you what, there was a non-GNCC weekend last weekend. There was a race in Tennessee where most of the heavy hitters were, and Josh was off. I mean, he was so far off. You could see him just visibly. It was frustrating and almost disheartening to watch.
Right.
You could see him down on himself, and I think at that point it's a perfect opportunity for him to, don't want to say he was at rock bottom, but that's firm ground to start from.
Right.
When you feel like, hey, I've got nowhere to go but up from here, sometimes it's just what you need to get going.
Most certainly is, and sometimes it takes cage rattling like that. You got to get down. You got to get down to get up. That's what they say. I know that's a song, but you got to get down to get up.
You got to get down to get up.
That's it. And to really enjoy the up parts, you've got to anguish through the down parts to really know what the up really means to you. And I think that's what we're in the process of figuring out right now, hopefully. And actually, one thing about it is, and one thing that I talked to Josh about is he's back to having fun. He really loves the team that he's on. He loves Joey and Fred. They're a couple old schoolers, and he's got Jordan Ashburn on the team. Just an all-around good atmosphere, and we actually had a chance to catch up with him and talk about that and a few other things.
Just do good, man. Have fun. I mean, the last one, I've been with the new team and everything. I put so much pressure on myself. I feel like if one little thing doesn't go well, I mean, I'm down in the dumps, and I know everyone puts in the hard work here, and so do I. So I think I just put the pressure on myself, and when the results don't come, it's a little upsetting. So I think just here, I mean, go have fun and ride the track. Like I said, the track looks fun. I mean, the bike's been good, and during the week I've been riding well. So I think I just need to go out, enjoy riding. And if it's a 5th place, then smile, and then if it's a 3rd or a 1st place, then smile a little more. So I mean, just go. That's why we all started racing this stuff, is for the enjoyment, and I just got to remember that.
And having fun, that's what it's all about, and keeping that mindset, I think, might be what's helping keep Josh Strang up to the front of the pack. Bollinger is in the number 3 spot, Andrew DeLong in 4th, and there's another rider. Good place for him to start out this race, too. That Phoenix Honda has not gotten the starts that he had hoped for, but he did get off to a decent, strong top 5 start and right off the gate. And here he is in 4th place at the end of that first lap, and he's got Thad Duvall right behind him, Stu Baylor behind that, only by another 6 seconds or so. So, I mean, the elite of this class are running nose to tail right now, it looks like, and Andrew DeLong is right in the thick of it. Josh Strang is right in the thick of it, and that's a place that both those riders have been before, and a place that they need to be again to get reacquainted with what it's like to run those speeds and what it's like to run up front, and like you said, gain that confidence, that ever important confidence that's going to help keep them there race after race.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, with Jordan and Josh, they're trying to get their race legs under them on a new machine and a new team. It's just one of those things where, there's a lot expected of them, but at the same time, you've got to give them their time to kind of find their rhythm. And, these are both guys that have threatened for wins and won races many times in the past. And, it's again, I think going back to just what's happened the last couple of weeks with Josh, he came out swinging all that confidence, big shiny semi, great people behind him, a big OEM that hasn't been a part of this series in a long time. And then it seems as though he started off strong, and don't know exactly if it's just kind of his confidence was waning there as he was getting those top 5 results, which we considered to be good. Maybe he was not happy with those, and that's kind of what chipped away at it. But, last weekend, again, at the Sprint Enduro in Tennessee, it was nothing but bad news for him throughout the weekend. And you got to believe he went home, reset, talked to people around him, and said, look, hey, I'm a guy that's won championships. I can do this. I'm going to do this. And he's out here today, and hopefully he can back it up, because it sure would be nice to see another rider and another team throw their hat in the ring and start battling for wins here.
No doubt. And it's good for the sport to see things like that happen. And right now, just taking a look at this XC2250 Pro Class, I note that Alex Teagarden, Howie's dad, love his dog, man. I mean, he's got a cute little dog. I actually got the whole shot out there in that one on the 309. That was a Lamb Mills XC team machine, but for some reason he drops from 1st to 16th in that first lap of racing. So a good start, but not a good finish to that first lap in the XC2250 Pro Class for Alex Teagarden, though. The rest of the class, Liam Draper getting off to a great start. And again, this is something that Liam needed for himself, is to be up front, see what it's like to be out front. How long he can hang on to it's going to be a big question. He may have it the rest of the day, who knows, but being there and getting this experience is step number 1. Ben Kelly running in the number 2 spot. When we last checked, he was just under 10 seconds behind Draper, with Mike Witkowski another 13 seconds back in 3rd. Evan Smith just 5 seconds behind Mike Witkowski, and Austin Lee rounding out the top 5 now as he drops 10 seconds, so he drops from 4th to 5th. And how about Evan Smith? There's a name that we haven't really talked a whole lot about, the name that probably is not real familiar to a lot of people, Johnny.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's another rider that comes kind of a little bit different way to us from I don't know exactly where Evan is actually from, but I know he's kind of worked his way through a different channel to get here.
Well, he's actually from Jefferson, Georgia.
Okay.
Where he's from. Yeah.
So he's a Georgia guy, but he wasn't a GNCC guy growing up. He's raced everything else but GNCC, or if he did, he never really pursued the whole series. He raced the National Enduros. He raced, I believe, some West Coast stuff, I think, for a while. He raced the Full Gas Sprint Enduro series. He's raced every series but GNCC seriously. And, finally, I think this year is the first year that he's really thrown in his hat in the ring. And here we see the leaders on screen. Caleb Russell still out front, and he has opened up a bit of a gap over Trevor Bollinger, it looks to be, in the 2nd place spot now.
Yeah, Bollinger getting around for the number 2 spot now, it looks like. Who's that?
That is Strang there in 3rd, and then Baylor in 4th.
Okay.
And that could have been Thad Duvall in 2nd, but I believe I saw Camelback.
Right. I'm thinking. I was thinking it was Thad at first, but when you said
there's Thad there.
Yep, I was going to say, once you said that, I forgot about Bollinger being up there and being. It's still hard for me to adjust to him being on the Husky, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and really, honestly, the only way you can tell those two guys apart, at least from this distance on screen, is
the Camelback.
Yeah, the Camelback. Thad wears the hip pack that's down on his waist, and Trevor wears the actual traditional Camelback that goes on his back. There we did see Jordan Asper just working his way through. Look at that. That was, oh no, I'm sorry. I thought it was Liam Draper, but that was actually Lane Michael working his way through. And now we see Josh Toth has caught up to Andrew DeLong. So he made up after that lengthy pit stop and got back up to DeLong, who was in the 5th place spot. He is now quite a bit further back, I believe back in the 9th place.
So the changes that we're seeing, Stu Baylor was in 7th place. I think we've got him now, in 4th place now? So he's gotten up a few spots. Josh Strang drops back a couple of spots there to that 3rd place position as he's battling with Strang for 3rd right now. Bollinger behind Caleb Russell, just a handful of seconds. And Thad Duvall still hanging out back there. Thad hasn't really made up a lot of ground, it doesn't seem like.
No, something happened there because he was 2nd behind Caleb on the moto track and then came in, and I believe he was one of the riders that we did see stop in VP Fuels Pro Row. And he has not really been able to bridge that gap to get back up to the leaders. Speaking of leaders, here is the leader in that XC2 class. It is once again... No! Yep, it is Ben Kelly.
Wow.
For a minute, I thought it was Liam Draper again. But it is back to Ben Kelly leading the way. And one thing worth mentioning here, Rodney, that's a big chunk of time he's behind those XC1 guys.
Yeah, and a big chunk of time he made up and put on Draper. But again, Draper getting some monumental experience out here today as he continues to hold a steady 2nd place position pace right now.
Yeah, and still within sight of Ben Kelly. That's a big step for him. No one has had Ben Kelly in sight after even a few miles yet in 2019, let alone after a complete lap.
Right, and yeah, exactly. Last time we seen it was last year whenever he and his teammate Josh Toth were going up. Ben Kelly and Josh Toth going back and forth, and now here we are. Finally, maybe we might see Liam rising to the occasion. He has been hanging out with the Baylor boys a lot lately, so maybe he's learned how to make those pushes out there.
Absolutely, and speaking of pushing on screen, the 282 factory beta Mike Witkowski is pushing away. He's doing the best he can to try and bridge that gap. He wants to get up to the back wheel of Draper and Kelly because he knows if he can run that pace and keep with those guys, it's going to pull him away from his competitors like the 1-2-3 of Austin Lee on that Phoenix Racing Honda there in the 4th place spot. So that is your top 4 in XC2 that have made it by here at the mile marker 5.5.
Hey, Johnny, I took an opportunity today. I wanted to invite somebody in studio today, someone that we really don't have a lot of chance to talk to a whole lot, Corey Steed, who is one of our gas riders in the WXC class. And, of course, we've watched her grow up through the youth ranks in the girls' classes and now making her way into the WXC class. And Corey's been one of those girls that we've seen not only at GNCC but also in motocross races like Loretta Lynn's and different things like that. And want to take this opportunity to welcome Corey to GNCC Live. Welcome, Corey.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Nice to have you out here. And, you know, traditionally we talk about and talk to a lot of the riders that are winning and stuff like that. And unfortunately, you haven't had that opportunity to be up there battling for the wins. But one thing I do want to point out, we've seen a lot of advancements out of you in the last year or so, huh?
Yeah, I've been really trying to step it up, and I know those top girls, they're insane on a dirt bike, and they find those lines, and I just need to get quicker, and I just need to keep training. I've had a few setbacks the past few weeks, and I haven't gotten to ride throughout the weeks of the GNCC, so I'm really just trying to focus on staying off the ground and trying to get up there.
And I understand that you've shifted your racing from motocross and I guess maintaining a strictly off-road type plan here in 2019, huh?
Yeah, I'm trying to just focus on one thing and really just focus on the woods instead of going back and forth and kind of just like switching gears. I'm trying to just focus on one thing and get a grip on it.
And I was talking to you about your machine. You're on one of those gas machines. You don't see a lot of those out there, but you're really starting to fall in love with that thing, I understand, huh?
Yeah, I absolutely am in love with this thing, and especially they stepped their game up for the 19, and I got the factory connection suspension, and everything is just working awesome, and I'm super pumped about it.
Well, Corey, I expect to see you battling for podiums real soon, okay?
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All righty. Well, good luck to you, and thanks for stopping by and talking with us. I really love the opportunity to talk with folks like Corey, just watching her grow up, and she's on the brink of greatness right now, Johnny. I think we're going to be seeing some good things out of her real soon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always fun to watch watch young riders grow up, and when they get to the point where they're right on the cusp there, it's always exciting because you know the breakthrough's coming at just about any moment.
Just about any moment. 43 minutes, working on 44 minutes in this race right now. And, of course, Caleb Russell leading the field here at Camp Coker GNCC. Josh Strang in second, Trevor Bollinger in the number 3 spot. And they're battling it out hard behind him. Actually, that's Bollinger now in second, and switching things up there quite a bit as we'll get them all sorted out again coming up here in just a few moments when GNCC Live continues right after this.
The action is just heating up, and we're just getting started. Stay with us, live action on RacerTV.com.
Your bearings shoulder the burden whenever you tow, haul, or stop the gas. AMSOIL delivers powerful protection for bearings and other critical components so you can drive with confidence. To demonstrate, an independent lab put AMSOIL synthetic motor oil head-to-head against a leading competitor in a 100,000-mile test. AMSOIL provided far superior wear protection and kept engine bearings looking like new. Get your truck the protection it deserves at AMSOIL.com/auto.
I'm a junior pro surfer from Maui, Hawaii. I actually tried to homeschool in 8th grade and just didn't meet my needs. I came to On Track in 9th grade, and from the beginning I really liked it.
The mission at On Track School is to make academic success completely possible for each and every student while they're out pursuing their personal goals.
Everything is just super easy with On Track. I get to take my computer on the road whenever I need to. It makes it very easy for me to get all my work done.
If you're looking for a program that provides flexibility and a program that you can take anywhere that fits your lifestyle, then On Track is for you. So come check us out at ontrackschool.com and go get it.
Even when you're the best, you never stop striving to be better. The all-new from the ground up 2019 Yamaha YZ250F is available at LoJack Cycle Sales, alongside the all-new YZ65 and YZ85, and refined YZ450F. So stop by LoJack Cycle Sales today in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and visit our online inventory at www.lojacks.com. Yamaha YZs. It's why we ride.
All right, welcome back to GNCC Live as we pick the action back up near the 10-mile marker here at Camp Coker in Society Hill, South Carolina for this Camp Coker Bull at GNCC presented this weekend by CST Tires. Caleb Russell continues to lead the field here. And again, last check, whenever they came around at the end of lap 1, it was Josh Strang running second, but that is Trevor Bollinger now up into the number 2 spot as we have a few changes taking place out there. Also, a few changes back in third. We had Strang back in the number 3 spot, and it was Stu Baylor battling from 4th as those two came just a few seconds behind the second place position. So we'll watch here with bated breath as we see Bollinger making his way around this moto track, what we're calling the FMF PowerPoint here this weekend. Bollinger, again, this is the 10-mile marker, a slight advantage over the 3rd and 4th place battle there just a few miles ago, and it appears that that might be Stu Baylor now into that number 3 spot, and he's got his sights set on Bollinger, so that gap not nearly as large between 2nd and 3rd, and there's no, well, there's Josh Strang now, I think. Check.
No, that was Thad Duvall.
Oh, that was Thad. There's Josh Strang.
Yep,
so Duvall's gotten around Strang also, so we've got even more changes taking place here on lap number 2, Johnny.
Yeah, absolutely. Things are shaking up, and Josh Toth working his way up quickly back through that pack. He was really falling back there after that lengthy pit stop. He's already gotten his way around Lane Michael. We saw him battling with Andrew DeLong earlier, and he's worked his way up through, and he's making those passes.
Well, I tell you, a lot of changes in the last 20 minutes or so of racing, as the only thing that has not changed is what's up front and on point, and that's Caleb Russell. And you know, Caleb does not like to lose, and he lost in Florida. He came back with a vengeance in Georgia, and just had that one slip away from him in North Carolina a couple of weeks ago. Was not happy at all about the way the circumstances unfolded, but nonetheless, he's back out trying to redeem himself. There's Corey Buttrick on the 121 Am-Pro Yamaha and that Ricky Russell replacement ride right now. And Corey's got his own suspension and stuff on there now, so things are starting to finally click for him. I don't think he had the race he was looking for in North Carolina a couple of weeks ago, but I kind of expect that we might see maybe some better things out of CB 121 this weekend.
Yeah, and that's another rider, you know, he kind of came on strong that first race there on that machine, and then a little bit struggled through North Carolina, but still a solid top 15 finish, I believe it was, and you know, he's definitely looking to improve upon that today. Here is your XC2 leader, Ben Kelly, the #1 factory Trail Jesters FMF KTM, and now here's the other one. There's your XC1 and overall leader, Caleb Russell, through VP Fuels Pro Row. Again, not stopping, so that's 2 laps and no fuel. Here is Bollinger in and pitting. So these guys are going to end up on a different pit strategy today.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you made mention that bag got burned by the gas there last year, and we know that this sand is fuel mileage robbing. We saw it yesterday in Chris Borch, literally his machine shutting off twice before the finish line and taking yesterday's win. We didn't see one on camera, but the NBC Sports camera guy, Mike Holbert, caught both of the stalls that he had, and one was just a couple hundred yards before the finish line. So we know that mileage is going to be on the minds of a lot of people, especially with what we've already seen take place earlier this year.
And taking place on screen is a new second-place rider, Stu Baylor, taking over that #2 spot, and he is on the charge, and you saw him look over at that screen. He wants to know exactly how far he is behind Caleb Russell. Thad Duvall checking in the 3rd-place spot. Now here in 4th is his teammate, Trevor Bollinger.
11.855 seconds is the exact distance between Caleb Russell and Stu Baylor as Baylor checks in. Lap times right now, a 23:50.9, so call that a 23:51 for Caleb Russell, and virtually a 23:42 for Stu Baylor. So he's about a full 9 seconds faster than Caleb Russell on that lap of racing, and if that turns to be consistent, this could get exciting. But we also know that, hey, I think that Caleb only runs as hard and as fast as he needs to. So once he starts catching that 5.14 in that rearview mirror, we might see a whole different pace start to pick up here for Caleb Russell in that #1 spot.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of these guys live and die by the pit boards and the splits, and you know, in a 3-hour race, it's hard to push yourself right to the red line the entire time. So if they get a lead, they kind of try to rest, regroup, give their hands and wrists a little bit of a break, try and miss some of the rough stuff, not charge every single hole. But the minute they see they're losing ground, that's when they go back to full charge mode.
Thad Duvall back in the #3 spot, running 5.2 seconds back. He turned to 23:54. Everyone else 24 minutes or longer. So once again this week, it looks like the 3 to beat will be Caleb Russell, Stu Baylor, and Thad Duvall if you're looking at lap times and adjusting it on that in the early part of the race. And the one reason that I do that is because those lap times, when you're talking 10, 15 second, 20 second faster lap times after 2 or 3 laps, that stretches out so much those guys can't see the riders in front of them. They don't have the incentive like we talk about race after race here on RacerTV.com. So again, Russell, Baylor, and Duvall have done it, and once they do this, they could start this breakaway, and we might see a 3-man shootout. And the way it's looking, it's real close to that because those 3 are within about 15 seconds first to third right now.
Yeah, you know, and there's the battle that's going on up front is really seeming to pull this XC1 class further and further away from riders like Ben Kelly, who we've seen so many times so far this season, early, and even last year, really charge up into the overall. Today, as well as he's riding, he just doesn't seem to be able to make a chip into that gap the XC1 riders have put on him, and he really hasn't pulled away all that much from this rider, Liam Draper, the 198 machine.
Well, right now, Kelly is listed as 9th place overall, leading the XC2 250 Pro class. Liam Draper would then be 11th place overall, second in the XC2 250 Pro class. Andrew DeLong is 10th place position overall. Right now, again, just checking in, Caleb Russell, Stu Baylor, Thad Duvall, Trevor Bollinger, and Josh Strang, your top 5, then followed by Jordan Ashford, Josh Toth, Lane Michael in 8th, Ben Kelly in 9th, Andrew DeLong rounding out the top 10, and Mikey Wayne standing by with some updates from VP Fuels Pro Row.
Hey, thanks, Rodney. Down here at VP Fuels Pro Row, that delay does mess with me, Adam. You're right. Wanted to give you guys an update on the pits. I think our camera guy was over there with the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna and Red Bull KTM guys. I was over No pit stop from Stu Baylor. Josh Strang did pit. Jordan Ashburn, no pit. So when that pit strategy comes into play, there's your pit report on who stopped and who didn't. We'll see how that plays out as the race rolls on.
It's kind of interesting. It seems like the teams are stopping one rider and letting the other go, and then they're on alternating laps. Even on their team, you think that maybe they're trying to learn some things and maybe try something new and different, or that's just the way things happen.
You know what's really shocking to me out of that update?
What's that?
Stu Baylor did not pit.
Right. Oh, you're right.
Stu Baylor is known to just suck through fuel. Both of the Baylor boys. They always pit before anyone else. And we've had 4 or 5 riders coming in pit, and Stu Baylor still out there chasing.
Well, you have to wonder, is Stu taking into consideration lap times right now? I mean, we're looking at time. We're looking at laps and thinking about laps. Mileage right now wise, I think we're on a 10.5 mile, 11 mile race course for these guys this afternoon. But lap times, I mean, if you're looking at lap times, maybe it's not time. Maybe he's going on time, and if that's the case, it could. You're right. Could bite him in the end, especially with these sands of South Carolina robbing a lot of that fuel mileage, I think.
And that's exactly it, Rodney. As deep as this course is and as power robbing as it is, and as fast as the fields are and how wide open they are going to consume far more fuel than what they would on a normal racetrack. Again, we've seen it many times in the past. As you mentioned yesterday, Chris Borch seeming to maybe running out of fuel coming to the finish. 2 years ago with Thad Duvall having to pit several times out on the race course for fuel, leading to some rule changes and all kinds of stuff. It ran out of fuel multiple times. This place is deceiving. It sucks fuel, and that's why I was absolutely shocked to hear that Stu Baylor did not pit, because those guys, Baylor always errs on the side of safety.
Yes, he does. There's the 444 machine. Looks like I think that's one of our XC2 250.
JoJo Bowden.
Yeah, JoJo Bowden. And JoJo, wow, man, not having a good day today. He's 17th place in class, running a minute behind Alex Teagarden, who's also having a rough day today. Tough break for both of those riders. A 30-minute lap time on lap number 1 for that rider. And it doesn't look like he's going to do any better here on lap number 2 for the 444.
Yeah, it's really been a struggle for JoJo, I think, since moving up that XC2 class. He was a standout in the 250A. Here we see on screen Ben Kelly in the VP Fuels Pro Row. That machine not refiring. Oh, there we go. No sense of panic. Oh, no, that's Jesse Ansley. Sorry. That is our XC3 Pro Lights or Pro Am leader, or one of the top riders in that class. We don't know if he is actually leading it, but I was concerned because 2 things that were happening on screen. Number 1, the bike wasn't refiring, and why was Ben Kelly kicking his bike? Because it's an electric start motorcycle. So.
You bring up an interesting point. Let's check in with the XC3, the FMF XC3 125 class, and you're right in assuming that there might be a possibility that he is not leading that class, because if I'm not mistaken, I think I might have seen Cody Barnes named back at the top of that list, and that's exactly right. Barnes checking in now with 2 laps complete and the lead, had an 8.6 second lead over Jason Thomas at the end of lap number 1. However, Jesse Ansley just checked in for his 2nd lap complete, and Cody Barnes now leading 25 seconds over that, and look, 4 seconds behind him is Jason Thomas.
Yeah, so there's your top 3 in that FMF XC3 Pro-Am class. So those guys are hard on the throttle, but right now Cody Barnes showing the fast way around the track, and that's a rider that's really come on strong the last couple of races. He I believe finished out in the 2nd place spot there in Florida, and then has come back with a vengeance, winning the next 2 rounds.
One surprise there. I mean, he's doing it on a machine that we don't really hear to be proven to be a great machine. And talking about Beta, and I'm not saying anything bad about him, it's just that they've had their struggles in getting to where they want to get. And the great thing about it is you got to take your hats off to Beta, where some companies would have said, all right, let's just give up on it and let's just walk away. They have not. They actually went out and grabbed the resources of a 5-time GNCC champion in Rodney Smith, getting his research and development knowledge, and also taking Rodney, of course, and letting him build a great team with some of these riders out there. And, of course, Mike Wachowski being one of those. He's got Mike Wachowski. Mike, a fast guy, always been at the front of the pack. Now we see his bike starting to get there, and he's talking about how great the bike performs. Same thing with Cody Barnes and that Beta. He's saying the same thing. Though Beta may have been known in the past to have its issues, it's always been a good bike. There's just always been one little thing off here, one little thing. They seem to have had those one little things fixed, and they're starting to get to the front of the pack, and we're seeing it in a couple different classes, both the XC2 and the XC3 classes this year.
And I think the revamp of their program has kind of come across very well for two reasons, and I'm assuming it was done intentionally, but if not, then they just lucked into two of the smartest things they've ever done, and that was one, that they've really struggled with their four strokes. They've had a hard time, and they always put their top riders on their four strokes. They were never able to make those bikes perform. Not saying that they're not good bikes, whether it was development or the riders just not agreeing with them or whatever. They just did not have results. The other thing was they were taking top-tier riders like Jordan Ashburn, like Chris Bach, and their results were going backwards quite a bit when they switched to that beta. And again, not saying anything bad about the brand, but they just didn't have the resources at that time. They were not ready for that step. So what they've done is now they are purely focused on the two-stroke side of things with both Witkowski and Jesse Barnes in that XC2 and XC3 class, which their two-strokes have always been phenomenal machines. And they took riders that are maybe, not to say second-tier riders, they're top riders, but don't have great expectations for those riders, so they're exceeding their previous results and their previous expectations, so it makes the bike look that much better. So it's working in great form for Beta. It's taken riders that were, maybe top 5 riders and turned them into podium riders, rather than taking riders that were battling for the win and dropping them out, barely in the top 10. And, again, those two-stroke machines of Beta performing well. The riders that they have are great. There seems to be a great team chemistry there with Rodney Smith, and good things happening over there for sure. And it's always good to see another OEM up there.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's exciting for the sport, I think, to see that happening. Anthony Federico checking in 4th place in that FMF XC3 class. He's a minute and 41 seconds back of Jason Thomas right now. Chase Colville, another minute and 14 seconds back, rounding out the top 5 in the FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am class. Joe Marsh and Talon Sorenkin is now rounding out the field of riders. Let's check in real quick with a few top 5s. There's a couple of these classes real quick, as we've got Ricky Russell making his way into studio. At 256, Evan Earl got the whole shot in the Open A class out of Blacksburg, South Carolina. He's leading now. Nick O'Brien, the 91 out of Chillicothe, Ohio, in 2nd. Joshua Lee, the 210 out of Statesboro, Georgia, in 3rd. Jake Hines out of Winston, Connecticut, in 4th, rounding out the top 5. Cook Beckert out of Zanesville, Ohio. Then 6 through 10, Brady Myers in 6th. 7th, the 58 is Zach Tussle. In 8th, Andrew Coffey in the number 730. 613, Zach Hugo in 9th, and James Murphy rounds out your top 10. Another class to look at here real quick, 258 class. Brody Johnson and Ryder LeBlanc less than 2 seconds apart after 2 laps of racing. Johnson out of Landrum, South Carolina. New Florence, PA for Ryder LeBlanc on the 42. The 712 of Bryce Coster out of Sorrento, Florida, running in the number 3 spot, is only 7 seconds behind that battle up front, so he's got a good bird's eye view of that race. Simon Johnson, who got an early lead in this class, is running 4th right now aboard the 29 from Bennington, Vermont. And Chase Hayes, the 33 out of Sumter, South Carolina, rounds out the top 5. Then it's Tyler Braniff in 6th. 7th is Michael Agee on the 364. 8th is the 704 of Tristan Landrum. Cole Whitmer, the 518, and 9th, and R.J. Cook, the 272, rounds out your top 10 in that 250A class. Keeping an eye on more of these results. We've got 200A class we're taking a look at now. Dylan Semple, the 929 from Iron Station, North Carolina. I'm not going to say he's led it since the drop of the green flag, but he got the whole shot. He's still out front after 1 lap of racing, in a 7.5-second lead over the 490 of Max Fernandez out of Ottsville, PA. The 199 of Zachary Davidson out of Iron Station, North Carolina. In 3rd, Logan Kiddick, the 458 from Farmington, Minnesota. In 4th, 5th place, Dominic Morris, the 475 from Newark Valley, New York. 6th place, Sean Myers, the 155. 7th place is Randall Irvin, the 612. Elliott Key in 8th. And Tyler Centrino rounds out the 9 in the 200A class. 4-stroke A lights class. Yes, please. And Tyler Soriano. All right, we got leaders coming in right now. So that is Caleb Russell making his way around the race course right here, and it is Ricky Russell, no relation, from the West Coast, joining us in booth now as we watch this one unfold. And is that is Stu Baylor up to 2nd place. And we were making a comment a few moments ago. He's not letting Caleb Russell out of his sights. He's still got him right there, Ricky.
No, it looked like Thad caught back up right behind him too. Stu was a mid-pack first lap, and it looked like he's on a charge right now, and he kind of made that gap smaller on Caleb right now. But we'll see. Caleb's just really good at controlling the race and holding that steady gap.
You know that from personal experience,
yes,
right?
Yes, very much so. And it looks like Bollinger, he was in 2nd right off the beginning and was on Caleb, but I think he had a pit stop for goggles and maybe a fuel or some sort of a pit strategy and kind of sent him back a little bit. I don't know exactly what happened there, but he went from 2nd to 5th, so we'll see if he's going to catch back up into that group.
Was that Strang or was that?
I think it was Strang.
Yeah.
Yes.
We couldn't quite tell on that one, but I think Josh Strang just going by there a moment ago. Ricky,
Yeah.
again, just letting folks know, part of the AmPro Yamaha team, and of course a preseason injury taking you out of the running and has got you sidelined. Corey Buttrick riding your bike out there. How's things going for Corey today?
All right. It looks like he was like kind of the tail end of the pack, but he was kind of going okay. I'm hoping he can make something happen. He's in front of the XC2 guys right now, but
there is Ashburn, the 127, making his way through. And who is that on that KT?
That's Josh Toth.
Yeah, the 206 machine.
He looked like Toth first lap, came around with no goggles on, kind of had some issues. I don't know if he got stuck in a mud bog or what, but looks like he's trying to make a charge back too. I checked out a little bit of the track, and there's some few spots. If you get in the wrong line, it'll suck you in there. And
a lot of funny issues, it seemed like, on that first lap. We also saw some what seemed to be off-mark pit stops. Do you know anything about what's going on with that?
I'm guessing, here comes Andrew DeLong. He's also in the tail end of the XC1 pack, and I think Buttrick should be next. I'm thinking goggles were an issue, and so people were pitting, and with pitting for goggles, might as well take a splash of fuel.
Right.
For later on in the race, it might help them out.
And that's something we don't normally see. I mean, even in mud races, sometimes we don't see that. Guys just not prepared today.
I think they weren't expecting it to be as muddy in places as it turned out to be. Maybe.
Jesse Ansley, by the way. I believe on that number 1, is it not?
That is Ben.
Oh, does it look like
Ben
a blue?
Kelly.
Okay, maybe that's
green. Your leader XC2, and earlier I saw William Draper was all over him, so
yeah,
he actually got in the lead for a sec.
Yeah, I don't know what happened out there, but Kelly got back around him. Hey, that's David Kripe right there, Hollywood. He's one of our Racer TV spotters and GNCC trail crews. He keeps an eye on things. He also sweeps the course and makes sure everybody's safe. And I'll tell you, just a great all-around utility guy to have as a part of the GNCC racing crew. Dave Kripe is his name, but everyone around the GNCC only knows him as Hollywood.
That's all I know him as. I don't even know his real name. Yeah.
Yeah, and he has a real job too. He works for Napa.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is just a weekend fun gig for him. He comes out and does this just for fun.
Just enjoys the sport.
Oh, like nobody's been. Actually, man, I mean, somebody's had a long one. I think that guy was parked next to me last night. They were going strong
Must
to
have
about
been a
4
late night
o'clock
at the concert.
That was a good one, no doubt. But anyway, I forget where I was even going with whatever I was saying a second ago, but that was funny right there. Continuing to roll through this one here today. Again, a 3-hour race. We're an hour and 6 minutes into this one. It seems like at an hour, we don't even really, there's no sense in even getting too excited because you really don't know what's going on.
Coming through in third.
But, I mean, look at the different changes. I mean, does it seem to be more changes or different things going on today than we've seen through the first 3 rounds? And, I mean, oftentimes we see shakeups happen, but this just seems a little different. I mean, I ain't going to say weird. I ain't going to say off. I'm not going to say wrong, or I ain't going to say right. It's just different.
I think Caleb got out to his early lead, and he's going to try to manage the whole race from the front like he does best.
Yeah, and then everybody else is just...
Everyone's trying to kind of keep with him, and I think, like I said, I think there were some soft spots, and a lot of people had no goggles on first lap. And I think that kind of might have just getting roosted or getting stuck or whatnot, and I think they had to make quick pits and then change their strategy with, while getting goggles, might as well get fuel. So might change some things around, and Caleb probably hasn't pit yet, so that might change things when he does pit. So we'll see how that turns out.
So, Ricky, you personally, back to you. I know we were talking earlier today. You said X factors when you're shooting to be back, huh?
That's the plan. I had surgery like 4.5 to 5 weeks ago, and I'm feeling good, back pedaling, and feeling great. I'm going to get on the bike this week and see how it is, just kind of ease back into it, and then we have a 3-week break from this GNCC to X Factor. So goal is to come back X Factor fighting strong. So if I can go out and ride this week kind of slow and easy, go fast for 2 weeks, and should be prepared. We'll see.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean,
that's good to see you getting back there. There's no doubt about that. I know
Injury.
Corey Buttrick probably is wishing that he could have a few more rides on the machine, but I'm sure he'll be glad to see you back to health too.
Yeah, for sure. We all get along well, and we'll see. I don't know his future plans or what's going on, and maybe if I'm not even ready for X Factor or not, but I'm thinking the goal is to be ready for X Factor, and hopefully, yeah, we can just.
Well, Corey hadn't even planned on running GNCC. He was focused more on the sprint stuff, and he was focused on the enduro stuff.
That's kind of where he's at right now, I think, and he kind of got this fill-in ride, and so he wasn't really training for 3 hours, and 3 hours is a whole nother level, and he knows that. So he's trying to do his best, and he's doing it. It's been a little bit of a struggle. So.
Well, hey man, we know Corey Buttrick. We grew up with Corey, and it's just unfortunate. I think 2011 he finally got that pro class win, and then he injured his knee, and things just have not been the same for the 121. Corey is probably one of the riders that should be a champion, have a championship or two under his belt, and should be touted as one of the GNCC greats. It's just unfortunate it didn't work out that way. And what seems like the road laid out, and it seems like that's the thing that's going to happen. Unfortunately, sometimes it don't happen, and like I say, Corey was just a victim of
with
that.
our sport, injuries is the #1 problem. It's hard to stay healthy for a whole season, and 3-hour races, it's tricky. So injuries definitely ruin a lot of people's careers. So look at me right now. I'm sitting on the sideline for the first 4 rounds of what I was hoping to be my best year. So
one thing's for sure, though, Corey has been able to, I think, excel in sprint enduro and national enduro racing as well. I think he's really been able to do that. So that's one good thing that helps keep his motorcycle racing career alive.
For sure.
As we watch, let's continue to watch this racetrack develop. Let's continue to watch this race develop. If you see leaders pop up on the screen, do not hesitate to scream.
All right.
Actually, let's go ahead and wait. I was going to go through a couple of classes, but we're getting a report that we should be seeing the leaders come here at the 9-mile marker here pretty quick. So if that's the case, we're going to stay with them, and we're going to wait to see what's happening. Now, last time we saw these guys, Caleb had the lead, but remember, back in that #2 position, things were starting to look a little different. Stu Baylor was still within sight. I still think he was within that 8-10 second range. He was 11 seconds, but I'm saying maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 or a little less now. Thad Duvall wasn't real far behind Stu Baylor either, about that 5 seconds, and then Trevor Bollinger back there a little ways, and Josh Strang. Strang, another rider, he started out strong. We'll see if he's able to get a mid-race push. I kind of expect, I know we're still in the first hour, but we're approaching that hour and a half, and it might be
Caleb.
There's
Caleb on the screen.
All right, so Caleb, we see that there's some lap traffic out there today, but Caleb seems to be manipulating it without any issues. I think this track is probably wide enough that lap traffic won't be a huge monumental issue like it was a couple of weeks ago in North Carolina.
I think the track looks like it's tearing down a lot and really rough. There's a lot of ruts. Just when you get stuck sometimes in a rut that you've already committed to, and there ends up being a lapper in the end of it, that's where it might cost something. Oh, Stu is right there. Right on the back.
Wow, folks, you can't literally throw a blanket over these two right now, but within 10 bike lengths right now, and I'm going to say within probably just a couple of seconds, if
He's
that.
Just staying out of the roost.
He's staying out of the roost. Stu Baylor is right behind, and there is that Thad Duvall in that #3 spot, right behind in the same deficit behind second place as Stu is behind first place right now. So these guys seem to be fitting into a pattern right now, and maybe they're going to go for that, let's just hang out here and see what happens. Caleb's trying to feel them out, see what they're going to do. They're feeling him out to see what he's going to do. If he tries to take off, they're going to try to take off with him, I'm sure. But, wow, this is going to be exciting. There's Josh Strang. Has he moved up to 4th now?
I think so, and no, Bollinger was 4th.
Okay, Bollinger's still in 4th, so that would be 5th place still for Josh Strang then.
Yes. The intensity of those top 4 guys, I think they're just all pushing each other that next level, and they're kind of creating a little bit of a gap here.
Yeah, and I should count Trevor Bollinger in that group. I talk about the 3 of Russell, Baylor, and Duvall, but Bollinger, in theory, is only 6.6 seconds behind that battle also, so don't take anything away from him either. There is the 1:14 of Josh Strang. He's running 11 seconds back of Bollinger. I wouldn't count him completely out yet either, especially as he gets stronger towards the middle of the race.
Toth.
Toth is still running at 7. Lane Michaels should be checking in next, I believe. He was only 5 seconds behind Toth, and that's impressive for Lane Michaels, especially taking into consideration this is, he raced a few laps a couple of weeks ago in North Carolina. Actually came off the track early. I guess some of his incisions had broke open.
That was gnarly. He had arm pump surgery about, I don't know, a couple months ago, I think, or a month ago. But it's only a, I don't know, 3-inch incision. And I guess it was 2 weeks after, I was talking to his dad earlier, it was 2 or 3 weeks after it was supposed to be healed. And it came, he must have hit it just wrong, and it split open, and he was bleeding all over the place. So luckily he pulled off and got it to stop bleeding to try to not get infected.
That's the 127, Jordan Ashburn. You're right, the 523, and that's exactly it. You know, somebody, actually a fan, stopped him and said, hey, man, you're bleeding.
Yeah.
I guess he was covered in blood, as we see
Caleb
Russell in the pit
stop. It looks like Thad's pitting.
Yeah.
I do.
Yep. So there's Stu. He's in full gas, and he gets himself fresh goggles. Didn't even grab the water that time. He's just looking ahead and got focused on Caleb Russell right now. But anyway, to finish that story about Lane, he said he didn't even feel it, didn't even know he was bleeding.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was good or bad, but whatever the case was.
I mean, when you get racing, sometimes you don't feel that type of thing.
Yeah,
I don't think it hurt too bad. It was just more losing a lot of blood.
Yeah, so hopefully everything's good. I say he's rectified that, and that's not going to happen again today, as we see Caleb Russell now checking in.
Caleb's got a little bit of a lead now from that pit stop.
That pit stop opened it up. Actually, I think he gained it just prior to the pit stop.
Looked to be a Husky in second also. Yep,
Thad Duvall is up to second now. Stu's pit stop actually seemed to last a little bit longer. So now Caleb Russell and Thad Duvall about 7 seconds apart. Stu Baylor checking in another 7 seconds. So they basically flip-flopped situations and added about a second and a half to the gap.
Yep, and there's Bollinger. They're all about evenly gapped out, but Caleb kind of have a little more of a cushion over Thad, it looked like.
Yeah,
his pit stop was really fast.
The lap time's 24:21 for Caleb Russell. Thad Duvall, a 24:11, a full 10 seconds faster on that lap around. He gains up quite.
He came from third, so he might have, now he's in front of Stu, so he might have gained, that 10 seconds. That's pretty cool.
So Stu Baylor turning a 24:24. And Trevor Bollinger, a 24:23 with Josh Strang, I believe. Well, the 24:19 was the lap before. Josh Strang turning a 24:33 this time. Still maintaining a top 5 position here after 3 laps of racing. And we're still 15 minutes from the halfway
point. Pit stop.
Yeah, Jordan Ashburn on the Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Team Green Kawasaki getting some fuel.
Yep.
Fred Andrews, 1992 GNCC champion and multi-race winner here in the GNCC Nation.
That was a fast bottle hand by Evelyn to Josh Toth there. Yeah. He might have bobbled. Nope, he was good. Yeah, it was a quick bottle hand, and he's, 6th place, 5th place?
I believe that's still 6th place. Yeah, 6th place. Actually, he's gotten around Ashburn. Ashburn was running 6th, so Ashburn, I think we saw him in the pits there just a few moments ago. But speaking of pits, Mikey Wayne standing by. What's going on down there, buddy?
Down here in the Teely Energy pits, just wanted to update you guys. The way the pits are set up this week, but they're on a corner, so we can only see what's right in front of us. The camera caught Stu Baylor taking a pit. On the other side, Caleb Russell and Thad Duvall both taking a pit stop. Fuel, goggles for all of them. So Ricky Russell, that rider's perspective, he was dead on that first lap around. Those guys were getting goggles, and why not a splash of gas while you're in there? But now seems to be an even playing field with all of them.
Thanks a lot, Mikey. And, that leads to the question, those guys that did stop on that first lap, will they be entitled, or will they feel that they should go ahead and go an extra lap maybe to try to save some time?
That's what I wasn't sure, but I just saw Stu stop again, so I wasn't sure if Stu... Or I lost count of laps or what.
Did Stu stop the first time?
I thought he might have. Maybe he didn't stop the first time. I just talked to his mechanic when I was out there, and I thought he already fielded. So I was kind of surprised to see him field again. So it seemed like they're all on the same lap right now, pitting. So
yeah. Ben Kelly checking in, leader of the XC250 Pro Class, by the way, just a few moments ago. As we look back, we also see Lane Michael is in. Just to give you a heads up, Lane is running 10th place overall right now. He is 9th in class. As that's a good ride for that rider. I mean, just coming off of what he just came off of. I mean, I think he struggled a lot more in North Carolina a couple of weeks ago than what he seems and appears to be doing today. But we got to take into account too. These guys trained a lot in the off season in sands and stuff. So a lot of these guys feel pretty second nature, I think, in these conditions.
Yeah, with the weather and being cold and whatnot, a lot of people go south, and Here's Corey Buttrick coming through the finish.
Yeah, Buttrick right now, if we look at the adjustments, is 12th place overall. This might put him in 11th overall. Depends on where Draper's going to check in. And
see, I know he's got more than that, but he's still not too far off pace. So I think a little more training, a little more practice, he could be right up there. Liam Draper having an outstanding ride right now.
Liam Draper checking in. That does put him in 11th place overall right now.
He's had XC2 top runner speed, and just the first 3 rounds, he had Florida. He was in 3rd, and actually had a big get off and passed out. He said so. I think he was just exhausted from the heat.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
So yeah, and then he came back, and he's kind of had little issues here and there. So to see him run in 2nd, challenging Ben a little bit, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's nice to see, no doubt.
I think Witowski was 3rd. So Witowski and Ben are definitely front runners for him to be up there with them guys. There's Witowski right.
Yeah, Witowski.
I know that is XC1.
But Witowski is running 3rd, or was running 3rd. Let's see if he's checked in yet.
Cody Barnes, XC3.
Witowski has checked in on his bait out of North Liberty, Indiana. He is 3rd place in the XC2 250 Pro class, and he is actually 12th overall, just ahead of Corey Buttrick, and now Austin Lee, the 123, whom we wait on to check it in as well.
So this looks like Cody Barnes out in front in the XC3 class, and there's Jesse Ainsley, not too far back, about 15 seconds, 10 seconds. So
yeah,
it's a good battle for XC3. I saw earlier Jason Thomas was in the mix there too, but I'm not seeing him on screen yet.
How about Cody Barnes, man?
Yeah, came out swinging.
Yeah, I mean, kid out of Sterling, Illinois, a Midwestern type guy. I mean, we kind of seen him on and off, I think, over the course of the years.
Sure.
It's not like a name that was completely oblivious to GNCC racing, but man, I mean, last year I guess he said he sat on the couch and wasn't even planning on going racing and got the call up to go racing, and he came out and is having the time of his life right now.
I know Cody he's into training and being 100% fit, and he's actually training with Paul Whibley a lot. And
yeah,
so
that helps.
He takes it serious, and Whibley's helped me out a ton too. So I know how hard it is, and so he came out swinging in Florida. I heard he actually had a bike issue, changed the whole radiator, and still came back to 3rd or 2nd. So,
that's impressive.
Yeah, I know he's right up
talk
there.
Talk about confidence.
He won last weekend or 2 weekends ago by a minute or so.
Yeah, and he's beaten Jesse Ainsley, who is the prodigy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
I mean, coming up through the youth ranks into this, through the 200A class, into this XC3 125 class, everybody, Jesse Ainsley.
Yeah,
I mean, he is a
exactly.
prodigy, and for good reason why. I mean, he gets recognized as that, but man, I know Cody's got to feel like it's a breath of fresh air to hear his name being thrown into that mix now.
A little bit, probably the underdog kind of coming out and being like, oh, no more Jesse Ainsley, I'm going to go smoke them. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's a good class, and they're definitely battling it out. It'll be a good championship.
Yeah, they should be getting into the finish line within the next couple minutes. We'll see how that battle's shaping up in that FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am class here in just a few moments. But man, good racing.
That is Josh Osby, Osby, a motocrosser.
Yeah.
Coming out here giving a swing for some GNCC action.
Yeah, they train over at Club MX. What better way to train than come out and do a GNCC, right?
Yeah, I think they like to come test it out, and no one really realizes how rough and how fast a lot of these guys go. So it's kind of cool for him to come out here and experience it.
Other than the fact that they raced the Ironman last year, and I'm sure that they came out with feelings of or thoughts of grandeur, like, I'm going to go show these Woods guys how to do it.
Yeah,
and I'm sure there's some of those guys that feel like that, but once they get here, they realize this ain't no little boy's game.
No,
man.
I think some guys do think it's going to be easy, and they have way more speed than us, but it's a different type of racing, that's for sure. So it's a little eye opener sometimes.
There's Ainsley through getting a bottle of water. Actually, he's starting to wrap up his third lap.
They should be coming through right here soon.
Yeah, we should be seeing Barnes. Barnes should be coming through. He's due in about 20 seconds according to timing and scoring right now. So we should be seeing that unless Ainsley's gotten around him, and I don't know how or where he did. And it looks like that might be the case if this is the finish line that we're closing in on. No, there's Barnes. Barnes is out there. So Barnes did check in. 26:10 lap time for him that time around. It's just that Ainsley has closed that 25.5-second gap up quite a bit. Now that gap is 13 seconds, so basically cutting it in half. A 26:10 lap time for Cody Barnes and a 25:57 lap time for Jesse Ainsley.
It's close. Some close racing.
It is. It's going to get real close. If Jesse can continue this pace, then Barnes is going to feel that pressure. But I have to tend to think, man, Barnes is one of those riders that can, I think, step up to the pressure and to the level that Ansley's got going on out there. And I think that's one of the struggles that we've seen with Jesse Ansley. As great as he is and as good at races and as strong the finishes as he's had, his biggest challenges has been the other competitors giving him the competition, which, I mean, hey, he may not be used to that.
Not expecting it, yeah.
I mean,
really
he's always been like that guy,
Yep.
you know, that's always been minutes ahead of everyone. You know, I mean, there's been a few classes and a few races where it's not been so much that, and it's been tight. But I mean, consistently, week after week, he's had to battle. He's had to work for these. I'm not saying that he didn't work for wins before, but I mean, he's really had to dig deep.
I feel like that class has been a lot more competitive this year because he was another level above them last year. So
Yeah.
I feel like everyone kind of stepped it up, and now it's actually a bigger, better class. So it's exciting to watch.
It is. So right now we got Barnes, Ansley, Jason Thomas checking in 35 seconds back of that. Anthony Federico is 4th place in the FMF XC3 125 class, and Chase Colville rounds out the top five in this class. Then 6th and 7th, Talon Sonkinson and Joe Marsh in 6th and 7th place positions. Keeping an eye on the racetrack out there. Just to give you an idea where we are with the leaders. We're about 14 minutes out before we'll be seeing the leaders check in. I'm going to dive back into a couple of other of these amateur classes. Watch this for me. If you see somebody pop up, let us know if you would. We'd gone through 250A a few moments ago. We hit 200A. And now I believe we're ready to dive into the 4-stroke A lights class after 2 laps of racing here in 4-stroke A lights. We got Blake Reinstaff out of Vail, North Carolina, out front of the 81 of Tyler Soriano out of Yerkesville, Ohio. 385 Nathan Rector out of Rogersville, Missouri is running 3rd. And Alex Luger, 303 out of Orlando, Florida in 4th and 5th place. The 130 of Travis Renaud from Stafford, Missouri. Then the number 30 of Braxton McGee in 6th. Adam Hollenkamp in 7th aboard the 161. The 452 Dalton Seals in 8th. 9th place 460 Trevor Maley, and rounding out the top 10, the 438 of Tanner Cowan there in the 4-stroke A lights class. As we look next at junior AB class, Andrew Matusik, a rider that's been on again, off again, a GNCCer and motocrosser, and as well a great trainer also. Matusik out of Franklin, Georgia on a Suzuki, a minute and a half lead over Landon Smith, the 729 from Kingsport, Tennessee. Tyler Bruton, the 203, got the whole shot in this one out of Troutman, North Carolina. In 3rd, the 75, Nick Mellinger out of Oakland, Maryland. In 4th, in 5th place, the 170, Bailey Park here from Johnson City, Tennessee. And then 6th place, Joseph McCarty, Andrew Boggs in 7th. Jesse Kildo is 8th. Wiley Brownell is 9th aboard the 627. And 993, Matthew White rounds out the top 10. Looking next at the Vet A class, Garrett the Sandman Edmondson out of Fellsmere, Florida, 11.5 seconds ahead, 217 ride machine on a Suzuki now. I don't know if you know the Sandman. Have you ever gotten acquainted with Garrett Edmondson down in Florida at any time there?
Actually, my very first ever GNCC in 2013, River Ranch. Me and him, didn't even know the guy, and me and him were going back and forth the last few laps, and I think I ended up just beating him. So that was my first ever experience with battling him in the sand, and yeah, it was cool. And I spoke with him a little bit a couple weeks ago when I was down here when I broke my leg actually. Didn't know he was coming to race anymore, so that's kind of cool to see him out here.
Yeah, he's actually just coming off an injury. He was supposed to race XC1 down in Florida for his team, the RM Suzuki team.
Here comes the leaders.
Lead change.
And it looks like Thad Duvall is in the lead.
Thad Duvall out front. We saw
Caleb's
this happen.
Right
There's
on
Caleb Russell in the number 2 spot now. So, wow, big changes taking place there as we switch gears real fast, just like that lead change did.
Stu's not too far back.
No, it's Stu Baylor. Wasn't Stu in 2nd right behind Caleb? And then
not after the pits.
Okay, that's
Stu
right, the
fell
pits.
back
They
a
did
little
switch
ways.
it up after the pits.
Yeah.
So this might be an advantage for Stu now for those guys to be going at it like this, I think.
Yeah, I know he can see them guys in the field just a couple corners up, so no doubt he's going to be pushing to get back in the mix with them boys.
Yeah, I want to run down through this Vet A class real quick.
Bollinger coming through in 4th.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was right there.
You're good.
I'm sorry. But Bollinger, yeah, he's keeping it steady right now also. So let's hold off on Vet A because we might be seeing some more guys come through here.
Nope.
Should be seeing, Strang and Ashburn and a few of those guys coming through here in just a moment. I think we should be seeing, Josh Toad, Andrew
Strang.
Oh, wow, Strang up to 4th place now. He's around Trevor Bollinger for the position. Or is he
Bollinger's
not?
in 4 strings and 5th, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think I saw Bollinger come around
Did
first.
see? Okay, maybe you did. Okay, sorry about
I'm
that.
not
I'm counting.
100%,
I'm
but I
trying.
thought
I'm
there's so many
trying
Huskies.
to get this stuff, man. But I get
Yeah.
so excited about that. And that is a report that we're getting off the trail, but maybe that is a misreport also. That Josh Strang is up the
Pretty
4th.
sure I saw Bollinger
Okay,
come
so
by just in 4th, not too far back from
You're
Stu.
probably right. Most likely.
But still, Strang's not too far back from Bollinger too, so he's staying in the
Yeah,
hunt.
they're keeping it very tight.
Especially we're what, an hour and a half, hour 28 minutes into,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, we're getting there.
halfway
getting closer.
point almost.
Watching here now, see who's going to be checking in next. But while we watch for there, just continuing to that A class, Garrett Edmondson again. Was going to run XC1, but had some issues. Hasn't been training. They wanted him to run XC2 this week, and he said, "Nah, man." He said, "I just don't have it in me. You got to understand." So
He's got the speed probably, but it's just
Does
that whole
the
3
endurance,
hour.
yeah.
3 hours is it's hard to take it to the next level. There's Josh Toth. Looks like 7th or 6th.
Well, if Josh is 5th, then that should make him 6th, I think.
Yes. And like I said, he looked at the beginning a ways back with no goggles on, so he had some issues early on.
How about this section of track right here? It's gotten worse and worse and worse. It's almost like there's a spring or something out there. The water seems to be getting deeper
Like
today.
I said, I was up there earlier, and there's places that look like shouldn't have been bad, and they were already getting bad just the more the bikes got on there. Kind of quicksandish. Here comes Jordan Ashburn. So that was Jordan Ashburn in 7th, and
yeah.
Andrew DeLong right there too, keeping him in his sights.
8th place position. Well, Andrew was 3 seconds behind on the last lap, so he's staying pretty steady
and Ben
there.
Kelly getting up in there with the XC1 guys again.
So he's
it's
got
kind of a little bit later than normal for him, to be honest. He's usually
well, something
kinda
happened
up
on
there
that first lap. I mean,
Yeah.
he dropped all the way back to 2nd. Liam was leading that one by several seconds. And, that right there was a good experience for Draper. That gave him a good boost of confidence. I know it's going to make him hungry. He's gonna I want to do that again. I want to do that again.
Experience, just the more he rides with Ben, I think the more he'll be up there. Just anyone riding with faster people.
Yeah. Lane, is that Lane there?
That is Lane Michael.
Lane Michael checking in. That's your 9th place in the XC1 Pro class. He was 35 seconds behind Andrew DeLong. I think we're looking at more closer to a minute 15 now between that position. So Lane has settled into a pace, it looks like. But he's by himself, and he hasn't had any pressure applied.
He's one of those guys who has the speed also. He just, that endurance thing, he's coming off of an injury, and so getting back going to that 3 hour endurance. He went to the Sprint Enduro last week and still had the speed to run with those guys. I think he ended up 4th there. So.
Well, I'll tell you, he trains a lot with Caleb Russell.
For sure.
So once we see Lane Michael on, when that switch finally flips, I think mouths are going to hit the floor.
Yeah, no, like I said, he's got the speed. He's just it'll come with more experience and more racing.
A lot of people know that. I mean, they witness that speed, but I don't think they realize the dedication and the training that he actually puts in that we don't recognize on the track yet. But some people, sometimes it takes them a while to get that, to peak out. And that was one thing I wanted to allude to there earlier. You were talking about.
There's Corey coming through. So he should be 9th or 10th.
Yeah, 10th place, I believe. Yep, 10th place. Now, you were talking about, earlier, it seemed like Josh and Ben Kelly seemed to not be riding with the fever and the aggression that they were earlier in the year. I have to wonder, I mean, they are so well-tuned and so well-trained, and I know they work so hard in the off-season. Do you think that maybe their training got off a little bit and they peaked a little early maybe, and they're going back into a lull moment for just a little bit before they go back on the upswing?
It's hard to say.
Or they could just be having an off day.
Yeah, and you like Josh Toth, he's kind of just steady Eddie. He's running with those XC1 guys like we talked about last weekend, and he got a good experience running with Stu and those guys up there. So he kind of came in and he's being safe but still holding that speed. It's hard to, you don't want to come in here and get injured and cost your season. So.
Well, I tell you what, watching this one roll around, pretty exciting stuff, man. I love this Camp Coker venue. There's no doubt. you know, there's a lot of stuff going on around here. I mean, Camp Coker, world famous for the motocross track. You know, Larry Ward grew up here. Ricky Carmichael cut a lot of laps on this motocross track out here. It's a sportsman's preserve now, and of course, this weekend, it's a place to come and be a part of the off-road world. I mean, there's so much stuff going on. Yamaha demo rides. They got the pedal assist bicycle, and they got the Yamaha Viking side-by-sides that they're doing. Specialized has got their stuff going on with the pedal assist bike. Just so much stuff going on around here this weekend. And I tell you, it's good to see Yamaha back in full force, and you as a part of Yamaha. I'll tell you, Ricky, Yamaha has a thick and rich history as far as GNCC racing is concerned, and a fellow rider from the West Coast in 2002 had made his way here to GNCC racing and was beginning to make his mark, believe it or not. And I'll tell you, it was happening this week in 2002 at Loretta Lynn's Ranch in Hurricane Mills, Tennessee. And let's take a look at this week in Yamaha history.
This week in Yamaha history, back when great names like Rodney Smith, Fred Andrews, Mike Lafferty, and Yamaha's Randy Hawkins and Barry Hawk were the elite of GNCC, a relative newcomer from the West Coast, Yamaha's Jason Raines, was beginning to make his mark in GNCC. This week in 2002, at the Loretta Lynn GNCC on a dry and dusty day, Raines jumped out to the early lead over Mike Lafferty. Battling for nearly 3 hours in the dry, rocky, dusty soils of Tennessee, Raines would also go on not only to claim this victory, but also 6 AM8 National Hare Scramble Championship titles, as well as a handful more GNCC wins throughout his career as an XC1 Pro. And after a decade and a half later, Raines can still be found on occasion racing his Yamahas in the XC3 125 class, still taking wins just like back in 2002. And that's this week in Yamaha history.
So there you are, Ricky Russell. I mean, I don't know if that's the steps you followed here to the East Coast or not, but I know that he certainly laid some groundwork for a lot of riders from across the nation to make their way into GNCC racing.
For sure, I looked up to Jason Raines a lot, and I actually, before I made the decision to pull the trigger and load up my van and head this way, I spoke to him a lot, and he kind of set me up with Randy to get over here and have a place to stay when I first got here, and that's huge. And just giving us the opportunity to come over here and have a place to stay. Oh, hold on one sec. Thad Duvall out front.
Wow, man, Thad is on the rails right here today. You know, he's coming off of a big win 2 weeks ago. I mean, the momentum from that, there's Caleb Russell back in second, but the momentum from that, and then just basically the shortcomings he's had here with the fuel problems and the wheel-to-wheel battles and just coming up a little short with Caleb Russell. I mean, you think about it, this is a place, and it does look like Caleb has taken back over the lead, but this is a place where you kind of expect, and any place is starting to seem like that for Thad Duvall, but this is another one of those places where he wants to get the win here, I think, and today he's riding like
third, or is Stu?
Wow, did we have that big of a change out there?
Looks like Bollinger's coming through next in third place, so he might have got by Stu.
Well, I'll tell you, I was talking with Stu earlier. Stu's still suffering from that knee problem, and one thing that he said, he wanted to see it get rough. He just didn't want to see it get rutty. He said the ruts would be something that would play havoc on his knee.
It's easy to twist a knee in a rut. So I think Stu's right there behind Bollinger. I'm not 100% on that, but thought I saw him in the background right there.
Don't see.
That's hard to see. Yeah.
Couldn't tell. But, man, Bollinger, again, just a rider that has super excelled through his GNCC ranks. It's been a great honor to watch that one, watch him move through the ranks, that's for sure.
No doubt.
Leaders due in here about a minute and a half, so we're at the 10. We'll be at the pro pits here in just a few moments. This will be for lap 4 of 7 complete. This will be a 7-lap race is what we've been told. At least that's what it was looking like a little bit ago.
So yeah, it looks like in the background right there you can see Strang not too far off there, but I think I saw Stu go by before that. So them three for that third place position are neck and neck.
Wow. And that's changed quite a bit today also, and that's exciting to see that you got that kind of battle going on for that third place position.
For sure. Obviously they want to be battling for the lead, but that final podium spot's always definitely a goal.
Hey, it means a lot. You get TV time. You get to get up there and throw your swag out from the podium and thank your sponsors. I mean, it means a lot to those guys. And it's amazing the difference between a fourth-place paycheck and a third-place paycheck and a third-place paycheck and a second-place paycheck and a second and a first-place paycheck. I mean, each pass is several $100s, maybe thousands of dollars.
Caleb Russell coming through the pits. Getting a drink from his wife, and there is Thad right behind him.
Yeah, literally several $1,000s in bonus money when you start thinking about it. I mean, some of these guys have got $10,000 bonus
like
wins.
Caleb is, there's Stu in third. So Stu is still in third.
Oh, well, good. All right, so we didn't lose him.
Just missed him on the last camera.
Wow, that has tightened up again. I mean, it looked like Caleb was starting to stretch it out on the moto track, but now as we get back into these tighter wood sections, something about it, man. Not taking anything away from Caleb because we know how fast he is, but something about that in those trees, it's like he rides like there's no trees out there. I mean, there's no obstacles. All he sees is lines and he hits marks.
For sure. He's not going to let Caleb get away. He's going to try to put pressure him the whole race. And
all right.
Like we saw, Caleb didn't like following very much. He liked to get back in the lead, so he likes to control the race.
Russell out front. It says on the tail of the tape here 1.8 seconds and another 11 seconds back to Stu Baylor in that number 3 spot as we wait for 4th place. So that gap was pretty big. I guess that we were just totally missing Stu Baylor.
There's Bollinger for 4th.
They're just so 27 seconds, nearly 30 seconds back behind Stu Baylor. Baylor's kind of riding under the radar right now, I guess.
He's not too
stealthy,
far off.
A stealthy 3rd place ride going on today.
For
Bollinger,
sure.
and then we're looking for Josh Strang. It would be another 21 seconds. So now as we're into that second part of the race, we're starting to see those gaps start to open up throughout the field. But amazingly, I mean, look how tight the front 3 are at the pace at which they're riding. A 24:13 lap time for Russell, a 24:07 lap time for Thad Duvall that time, and a 24:11 lap time for Stu Baylor. Those guys are the only riders, well, they were the only riders running sub-24s there the lap before. Now they've dropped within just 10-15 seconds over the 24-minute mark. That's kind of an indication of something too, I would think. What would you think that? I mean, lap traffic, track getting a little bit more demanding.
It could be multiple things, but I'm sure the track is getting beat out there.
And you can tell by watching Lane Michael, we made mention there a few moments ago, he's on screen right now. He doesn't seem to be riding with the fever or ferocity that we saw him ride with a little bit earlier, and I think it just goes back to he's been off the bike. He's not bike fit. I mean, he's been doing some cardio training and stuff, but I don't care how much cardio training you're doing. If you're off the bike, you lose that bike fitness, you lose a whole lot.
Like I said, 3 hours is tough, and he has the speed early on, so it looked like he was going kind of just pace himself because he knows it's a long day and it's rough out there. It looks like Josh Toth here getting feel.
Yeah, he don't want water.
Nope.
That's kind of a little humid yesterday. It's not nearly as humid today, though, I don't think. There's that light breeze.
It's kind of a good breeze, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of moisture in the air, too. We're being skirted by storms. If you look at the radar.
Josh's dad. Give him a good cheer. Or yelling. Who knows?
Get it going, boy.
Yeah.
But if you look at the radar, I mean, we've got several showers that have skirted us so far here today. So we're pretty fortunate, pretty blessed right now as far as the weather has been concerned. When we were forecasted with 180% chances of showers, 180% chance of showers. Hey, there's number 1 Trail Chasters KTM in, and that is Ben Kelly. That is your leader of the XC2 250 Pro class. And again, no senses of urgency. That kid is just out. I think he's just biding his time and earning his right in his rank to move up into that XC1 class is what it seems like to me.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of untouchable right now in XC2. So, yeah, I think he just keeps going out there and doing his thing and getting wins, checking them off the list.
It seems like we're getting a lot of guys from up out of the Northeast, New England area that are really starting to be fast guys. Have you ever done much racing up in New England yourself?
Me and Josh Toth have always been really good friends, and actually last year was the first time I went and stayed with him for a couple weeks up there and did some J-Day racing and even a Netra, and it was fun. Different, rocky, technical, gnarly, and the J-Days are more of a 30-minute sprint, so it's a little bit different racing, but it's fun.
Sounds like a lot of fun. I'd like to check one of those out, but we just saw Ben Kelly, or excuse me, Josh Toth. I know it was Ben Kelly checking in. Josh Toth a little while before that. But Ben Kelly checking in there just a few moments ago. We're down in the pits now. got in the pits on this?
That's Lane Michael.
Lane Michael in on this
having
one.
some
So
fuel and a drink.
again, no senses of urgency. Just needs to put the laps in, put the time in, and get just reacquainted with GNCC and racing.
Yep.
And he got rid of that bottle pretty quickly there, it looks like. Now, here's a good question. How long, I mean, that's going to be a hard way to do it. You get a thing, you put the straw in through the helmet, face mask or whatever, and you're holding on to it. I mean, you've got to basically clamp down with your teeth to hold on to that bottle. So chances are, what are you going to do? Just take a big as drink as you can and then spit it out? I mean, let the bottle go?
Everyone's different, but some of the bottles you put tape or whatever so you can have something that kind of holds on your teeth. And I have some straws that are designed for it, and we can hold on to it for, a mile sometimes. So
Really?
It depends. But sometimes if it's really heavy, I don't like to hold on to it for long. So I take some good chugs and just spit it out.
There you go.
So
I wondered if it would be distracting or.
it is starts swinging around a little bit and kind of causing problems. So usually that's when I'll let it go.
Do you see some riders using camelbacks? Why do some riders elect to use that while others don't?
I think everyone's got. You're talking about the backpack versus the waist?
Yeah.
Because everyone's pretty much got camelbacks, but some people are running the new
so
USWE waist back.
I didn't
and
realize
you can't
that
really
there were-
tell that it's more of a less weight on your back, so
It's
that's kind of
probably cooler
nice.
too, because
It is.
yeah,
So
that's
but
one thing
it's a
that
little.
always-
It's not as big though, so you don't get as much fluid. The camelback on the back, you can get a little more fluid. So it just kind of depends on how much fluids you're drinking throughout a 3-hour race.
No, I see.
But yeah, USWE's really got a good system there for the camelback and the waist back.
That's awesome. I didn't realize that, to be honest with you. I guess I had seen and never just really put two and two together. I thought they were carrying their tool belts around, I guess.
No,
Never looked
like
real
that.
close.
And Caleb kind of seemed to start it last year with more of the waist packs, not needing as much fluid, and now it seems like it's catching on. And it, like you said, it's not as hot.
Well, right now, open pro class making their way through. Still Caleb Russell, Thad Duvall, Stu Baylor, and Trevor Bollinger, Josh Strang, your top five. And I'll tell you, we got lots of exciting things going on and questions to answer. Mikey Wayne's down there to ask those questions to find out the answers to them. Mikey?
Thanks, Rodney. Down here with DQ, David Quillen. First of all, my co-host on the Bottleneck Live, man. Hey, tell us about Lane. Not necessarily the pace we're used to seeing out of Lane the last couple of years, but he's also coming back from a nasty injury, the surgery. How you feeling about his progression?
Hey, he's rolling. I'm happy. We're got off to a little bit of a slow start. He came around the first lap doing pretty well. I mean, I couldn't be happier with how he's doing there. He's kind of just pacing himself at this point. I think he's going to make a good run here in the last couple laps, and we should be sitting about where we'd expected to be. So all good here. He's just, like I said, injuries on top of injuries. So he's doing all right now, so we're back at it.
Putting it together. There you go. David Quillen down here in the pits, mechanic for Lane Michael.
All right. Thank you, DQ. Thank you, Mikey Waynes. And good information, good intel coming through there. Now, is that a blue number one? That's Jesse Ansley. That's your XC3, FMF XC3 leader.
He's in second. I think Cody Barnes went by just before we
Okay,
went to cut.
yeah, you're right. 13 seconds is a gap. I was thinking Jesse had gotten back around him for some reason.
It looked like a little bit more of a gap right now, but it's hard to say because cut screen, we'll have to see. They're coming to the finish line pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, Jesse had turned a little bit faster, about a 13-second faster lap on lap number 3 than Cody Barnes had, and they had both gapped Jason Thomas by well over 30 seconds at this particular point now. And, back to this FMF XC3 125 class, we've been seeing Jason Raines in that a lot. You were talking about Jason Raines and your transition from the West Coast there. Finish that story.
I spoke with him a lot about the whole coming over here and racing like he did, and he was inspiration. So I wanted to kind of give it a shot, and because of him, I was able to make it happen and come over here, and now I'm racing like he did. So it's very cool to see, or for it to work out for me too as well. But he did the same thing. He came over and he was very competitive. He won multiple East Coast Hare Scramble Series and then national championships. Back then that was a big national championship. And then I think he won a lot of GNCC races. And then unfortunately, I think he broke his leg his last year, and that kind of set him out. And he was leading that championship by a lot of points. So
Yeah,
like I said, injury.
You talk about a champion that never was. He's one of those guys
exactly.
too. I mean,
he deserved it that year, no doubt. Had I think a couple race lead points wise.
Yeah, what was it, like 4 races to go or something crazy like that? He broke his leg.
Really broke his leg. Not something you could ride through.
That was
or something.
He hit the tree, and that was at the Wisp. I'll never forget that. He come jumping up out of there, and he clipped that branch. Man, I forgot all about that. Wow. That was, what, 03?
Outdating me now. I didn't come over.
I think that was 03. I think that was the year that Barry Hawk may have ended up winning that championship, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong.
Might have been Rodney.
It might have been the 04 season,
I
too.
don't know.
Yeah, it
I'm
might have been 04 whenever, So, whatever, it was right around that era, but wow.
So here's Cody Barnes coming through XC3. We'll see what the gap looks like here when they come through the finish line.
So Cody Barnes out front in this FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am class. He had a 13-second lead over Jesse Ansley at the end of lap 3. At the end of lap number 4, Barnes checks in with a 26:04 lap time, which is pretty on point with what he turned the lap before. We've seen the front of the classes like XC1 and XC2 riders, actually their lap time slowing down just a handful of seconds.
Here comes Jesse Ansley, second place. So I think he might have lost a little bit
He's lost
from
a little
last
bit of
lap.
time. That's bigger than a 13-second gap. Barnes hasn't slowed down any. I mean, Barnes may have actually picked it up a couple of seconds. A 25:57 that last time around for Jesse Ansley. His lap time consistently with everyone else dropping about 30 seconds or so. He's a 26:24 lap time that time around. So Jesse Ansley, Cody's the only one that hasn't slowed his pace. I mean, he's still going. You wonder, I mean, he's approaching that 2-hour mark. A lot of guys kind of ease into that last hour and a half, but Cody's not easing into anything. There's Kevin Warta, one of our GNCC stewards, as he's out manning the moto track right now. He does a lot of things, works the pits, helps make sure that he does pits, he does setup, he does teardown.
This is, I think, Osby.
Yeah, Josh Osby, I think that's who that
came out to try some XC1 action.
I wonder how they're doing here in the XC1 class. I think they're running 12th. Josh Osby in 11th place was 5 minutes 48 seconds behind Corey Buttrick at the end of 3, and 5:07 behind Osby was Tony Archer. Well, I got to get. And whenever you take into consideration,
Osby is a professional motocross
and a top
rider. And
Supercross. He's like one of the top East Coast Supercross riders right now.
He's a good rider.
He is a very good rider. And
just kind of shows you a little bit the intensity of an off-road 3-hour race.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that a GNCC racer could go and beat those guys on a Supercross track. I mean, that's their forte. That's what they train in. But what I'm saying is motorcycle, the different disciplines of motorcycle racing all have their different challenges and, their different obstacles. And where Supercross has what it has in timing and things like this. This is an endurance. It's man, machine, and nature all battling against each other, I think, or with each other, I guess.
I think we just saw on screen that was Anthony Federico coming back from a broken hand in XC3. I don't know how he was doing. Looked like he would have maybe been fourth.
I think he was running fourth. Another lead change is what we're anticipating right here. Duval out front once again, and now Caleb Russell in the number 2 spot as we check in here. Just, wow. I mean, this is like a yo-yo day or something, man. It's going back and forth.
I think they did that here last year.
Yeah, this is the kind of deja vu. Last year, though, Caleb Russell.
Fortunately, I was in third about a couple minutes back.
Well, you were in third. That was a good place to be.
we were able to get a third last year here.
And, I mean, tell me something.
There's Stu not too far.
Not too far off that pace in third place.
And if I know Stu, he can put in a charge the last hour.
So with the level, and I'm not taking anything away from you or any of these other riders right now, but it's the writing's on the wall. The proof's in the pudding.
For sure.
Caleb and Thad are on a completely different, seem to be more consistently on a different level than everyone else. What does it take to ride with these guys? And then whenever if you're there, like you say, were there last year in third place behind those guys, you ran with them for a little while, I'm sure. What was it like trying to keep that pace? And I mean, was it impressive to watch them ride? Did you learn anything?
I think every race, whenever I rode with them guys, I would learn things. And them two have pushed it to another level, and where everyone else is slowly catching back up that level, but them two are still.
What is the real secret? I know we talk about the science of training. We talk about this. We talk about what is the real secret that they've got going on out there?
I mean, I think it's very mentally challenging, and they're mentally strong. And them two, like I said, are pushing each other, and they're able to push each other and get away from the rest of the pack is what it looks like. And like I said, everyone else is slowly getting back up, but Stu's next in line right there, and he's a little bit off of them guys right now. So there's no real secret, I don't think. It's just you gotta be strong. You gotta
and want it, I guess. I don't know.
Exactly.
And want it worse than the other people, I guess. Hey, we're out just past the 5.5 mile marker right now, if I'm not mistaken. I got a little bit of a break coming up. I'm gonna run through a couple more classes here.
I'm gonna take off actually.
Hey Ricky, thanks for stopping by, buddy. Really enjoyed your chat today, and
thank you.
Some really good stuff there. And Johnny
Johnny
Gallagher,
back in here.
That's right on cue right there for Johnny Gallagher, bringing in a Pepsi and all that good stuff. Let's pick back up with the senior A class. I had Larry Sylvia leading that one now after 3 laps of racing over John Beaver. Sylvia out of Monticello, Georgia on the 720, the 136 of John Beaver out of Gray, Tennessee, running second. Third place, the 51 of Shotgun Sean Remington, who actually got the whole shot in this class earlier today out of New Salem, Pennsylvania, an Pro rider. In third place, Josh Hackett, the 362 from Hardland, Connecticut, is fourth. Gregory Richardson out of Verona, PA, the 163 in fifth. Then sixth place, the 98 of Frank Tussle. Seventh place, Jeremy Dexter. Eighth place, the 920 of Jason Stickley. Ninth place, Bo Hamlet. And rounding out your top 10, the 378 of Ken Anderson. That was senior A class. Now as we look at some of these B classes out here in Open B, the first class we take a look at, Peyton Harden out of Stamping, Kentucky with a 202 lead over the 407 of Jared Miranda out of Parker, Indiana. Matt Sorge, the 82 from Atco, New Jersey, in third aboard the 82. The 447, Michael Davis out of Amelia Court House on a beta. The 447 in fourth. In fifth place, the 142 of Jacob Harmon, Jonesboro, Tennessee. And then sixth place, 436, Brennan Bishop. Joshua Webb, the 911 in seventh. Jared Messer is eighth. Zach Groover in ninth place aboard the 674 and the 379 of Andrew Cohen, rounding out your top 10 in Open B. Moving next to the 250B class, Gatlin Combs, the 366, and I thought he got the early lead out there today. And we are getting a word here, Johnny Gallagher, that we may have a new leader in XC2. Just got the word off of the racetrack, and if that's the case, and if we go by process of elimination, well, we know that second place ride was that 198 of Liam Draper out of New Zealand, and quite possibly he has moved back into that number one position. And how about it for that rider, man, being in position twice today to get out front and maybe in a better position to take a win here later in the race.
Absolutely. What a shakeup that is, folks. An hour and 55 minutes into this, we're telling we have a new leader in XC2. That would be the first time this season that anybody other than than Ben Kelly has led a lap. Liam Draper did it earlier today on the very first lap. If he does it again, boy, that would be a shakeup. I mean, leading lap one is one thing. It's still a great accomplishment, but leading two-thirds of the way into this race, now you're a threat for a win.
Exactly, most definitely. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. There was a 23-second gap, a 2-minute and 23-second gap. Man, that seems to be some big trouble for Ben Kelly if that is the case.
If that is the case that Liam Draper's leading this, that's more than just having a bad lap. Something had to have happened. We don't even know that Ben Kelly is still in that second place spot.
Right.
That's not them on screen there. I thought we might be getting to see him there.
So Mike Wachowski at last check was third place. Austin Lee in fourth, and Evan Smith rounding out the top five as he dropped, I think, from like third place to that fifth place position.
Yeah, that class has kind of been shaken up all day. The one thing that seemed to be consistent, though, was Liam Draper in second and Ben Kelly leading the way, although they had flip-flopped that position early in lap one.
What about...
Here we see Lane Michael on screen, the 523 XC1 machine. He is out there, and he is, I believe when we last saw him, he was in 8th or 9th place spot. So a solid ride for him. Rodney, when I was gone, I heard you talking about the issues he had following that arm pump surgery, which he elected to have after breaking his collarbone. One of his wounds came open at the last race, so now he's got staples in it. He was able to race last weekend at the Sprint Enduro, made it through the weekend, no blood, and boy, what a scary thing that would be to just be pulled over and said, hey, buddy, you're bleeding all over yourself.
It'd make you wonder. That's for doggone sure. But, wow, and you were talking about shakeups. This whole race day today, I mean, and we kind of seen that yesterday in the ATV stuff. This race course is really lending itself to exciting racing, and what you think and what you expect to see is not necessarily what you're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a lot of shakeups throughout the weekend, even with obviously Chris Borch taking that 75th win yesterday. There were some battles in that morning race yesterday with Landon Wolf, and it's just been all kinds of crazy stuff going on all weekend. And speaking of crazy stuff, here we do see that is Liam Draper, the number 198 machine in XC2.
Now the question is, what's going on out there? Did we just miss him out there, or is that still 2 minutes and something ahead? I'll tell you what, Mikey Waynes is standing by in the pits. He says that they say that he's got an update or an answer on what's going on for us in that XC2.
Well, not exactly sure what the situation is, but pretty awesome. Liam Draper's parents actually here this weekend. You can see them behind me. They've been absolutely glued to Racer TV all race long. I walked over. I said, hey, we think Liam might be out front. Sounds like that's exactly the case. After I wrap this up,
we lost that, but basically, yeah, we're still in waiting mode right now to make sure. That was the report that we had been handed off the race course, but we're back into the mindset right now. We're not sure of that. Kelly is one of those riders that is very easy to miss, maybe under certain circumstances and situations, as he's able to get through places very quickly, quietly, stealthy, I guess you could say, and sneak through. So he may have snuck through. We just didn't see him, or our spotters didn't see him, but we'll get an update on that coming up here shortly. Right now, while we're waiting on that update, Gatlin Combs leading the 250B class. Dylan Gore running in the number 2 spot out of Chapmanville, West Virginia. Out of Canada, Justin Brazeau in 3rd place. Danny Bellinger is out of Quebec, Canada in 4th. And then we got Bradley Chapman out of Gastonia, North Carolina, rounding out in the top 5. Philip Dagnanese in 6th. Trevor Riley in 7th. Kyle Prismont is 8th. Austin Hobatter 9th on the 214. And Garrick Orbister rounds out your top 10. I think, Garrick. All right, here's the lead battle on the moto track, Johnny Gallagher.
And there it is. Thad Duvall out front, and in the 2nd place spot, that is the number 1 FMF KTM of Caleb Russell. These two, man, it seems like we should just go ahead and just put a tow rope between them and let them have at it 13 times a year, Rodney.
No doubt. And this is, again, deja vu. Deja vu from 1 year ago here at this Bullet GNCC. We saw basically a lot of the same things that we're seeing up front. Thad Duvall, and that's that back and forth. And last year, I think Thad said he came up just a hair short.
Yeah.
And that was one thing, left him very hungry after this race, and that made him hungry for this year's win. But I think something else is making him hungry to take this win is not only redemption from last year, but also to continue the streak that he picked up on there at Steel Creek a couple of weeks ago. So 2 race wins in a row. He would all of a sudden be a contender, if not the points leader, heading into round number 5, which, even though it's still a tight race, it's still a good mind game to be able to be playing with the rest of the field right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Trevor Bollinger absolutely charging right now, trying to get back up to that podium battle. But we did see Stu Baylor still very close to those leaders. He is still very much within threatening distance. 2 hours, a little over 2 hours now into this one. And he is... let's see, that is Josh Strang there, so that is our 5th place rider. So the top 5 now all out on that Cam Coker motocross. We switch back to the other side of the moto track. Here's Bollinger, the 739 machine, running in the 4th place spot. Still slightly outside of striking distance to Stu Baylor. Baylor a little bit closer to the leaders than Bollinger is to Baylor. So right now, Baylor with more of a chance to get up and battle for a win, as opposed to Bollinger being able to get up there and battle for a 3rd place spot. Josh Strang there, now in the 5th place spot. And again, showing some promise early up in there, battling. We saw him up as high as 2nd place early in lap 1. Now back into 5th. But the good thing for Strang, 2 hours into this one, he may be 5th, which we know that's not where he wants to be, although top 5, nothing to shake a stick at. He is still absolutely in the battle. He is close enough that with a good couple of laps here, he could easily find himself back in a podium position.
Yeah, he sure could. And I say keep an eye on this. We still got an hour to go. We've got conditions in this racetrack. I'm not going to say treacherous, not going to say any of those type words. What I'm going to say is challenging. This racetrack, we saw it take on a race face yesterday. You saw it on the ATVs yesterday. I mean, it went from a smooth field. I mean, a lot of smooth lines out there. By the end of that 2-hour race yesterday, this racetrack was totally different than it was when it started.
And there we see your leader in the pits, the 989 Rockstar Racing Husqvarna of Thad Duvall. We have a lead change, folks. In the pits, Caleb Russell able to get that number 1 machine out ahead of Thad Duvall on the 989. So once again, they swap it back again.
So how big of a mind game is that for Thad Duvall right now? I'm sure it's kind of got to be aggravating, but he knows he's already passed Caleb once, so probably he's just like, well, I'm going to have to do it again.
I'll tell you what, Rodney, I think watching these two race, they almost – I wouldn't say that Thad intentionally took a little longer in his pit by any means, but I don't think he's panicking by any stretch of the imagination. You know, now we're coming to just 2 laps to go left in this race, but these two like to be together. They want to know where their competition's at. Neither one of them is naive enough to think, and I actually have had this conversation with them, neither one of them is naive enough to think that they're going to be able to run away from the other. So accepting the fact that they have to battle each other, they kind of just settle in and keep an eye on each other, and that's how they do it. They take turns leading. You know, sure, they'll try to pass each other just to shake each other up, you know, and when they get an opportunity, they'll put in a sprint, but the minute that guy's able to make it, the other guy's able to make it back to their rear tire, they really have no choice but to try and back off and save some energy. Now, the 514 machine of Stu Baylor in, and we see he is how far back of second there, Rodney?
I've got him 21 seconds back of second place right now.
So still definitely within striking distance of a win. You know, 21 seconds is not by any means an insurmountable gap. Now we see the 7:39 of Trevor Bollinger working his way through. He's going to be coming through the finish. Looks like it's going to be a slightly larger gap back to him than it was back to Stu Baylor. It looking like probably upwards of 30 seconds from Baylor back to the 4th place ride of Bollinger.
Yeah, it was 27 seconds at the end of lap number 4. And Bollinger was turning about a 10 or 12 seconds slower lap than Baylor last time around. So if we stay consistent here, we'll probably see about a, 33-second gap now as Bollinger checks in on Morganton, North Carolina with a 24:41 lap time. Only lost 5 seconds on that particular lap exchange, but still 33 seconds, and that gap's open, and it's tougher to see, so it's going to be tougher to track down.
Yeah, you know, and Josh Strang really impressed me today for a lot of reasons. The first of which is, you know, it's for him to be this close to the leaders. You know, granted, he's had top 5s already this season, but there was a much bigger gap back. You know, he was minutes and minutes away from the lead duo. I mean, today he's at this point, Strang sits only, so after 5 laps complete, he's 21 seconds behind Bollinger for 4th. You got another 33 seconds there to Baylor, or I'm sorry, to Bollinger, 21 seconds to Bollinger, then 30.
About a minute and 17 seconds.
There you
the way
go,
I got
minute and 17 seconds. So that's a very, granted, I'm sure Strang will not be happy with that, but to be under 2 minutes, you know, after 2 hours and 5 minutes of racing, that is progress.
That is huge progress. I mean, it really is. Whenever you're exactly right, you look back at the results, and a 5th place with a minute and 17 second or a minute and 30 second gap sure beats a 5th place with a 3-minute gap.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and he's ahead of the riders he had been battling with earlier in this year. I mean, earlier this year we saw him battling Josh Toth. We saw him battling Jordan Ashburn, his teammate. You know, and he's got a good, solid gap on those guys right now. And as we say that, actually, Jordan Ashburn comes by our Racer TV studios, and he's still got a good another half to 3/4 of a mile till he even makes it over there. So not a great showing for Ashburn today. He's a little bit off the pace, it seems.
Wow.
So he is. I think he's still running within the top 10 overall when we last saw.
Right. Yeah. Ashburn was 8th.
Yeah. But there's starting to be some big gaps beyond the top 5. The top 5 there are all pretty close together. Again, we said a minute and 17 seconds back to Josh Strang in the 5th place spot. But if you look, I still don't think we've seen our 6th place rider of Ben Kelly check in that overall.
Oh.
So this is where the gaps start to open up.
We've only had 5 check in for 6 laps complete period. So.
And on the Camp Cooker motocross track, there is the 523 of Lane Michael. We were talking about it earlier. His 2nd race back from injury, a preseason injury, actually suffered in a road bike race. And, you know, coming back, now we see the number 1 FMF KTM, Trail Jesters KTM of Ben Kelly. That is your XC2 leader. So for everybody watching at home that was panicking, wondering if Ben Kelly had disappeared and or if Liam Draper had taken over the lead, sorry, we did miss him there. That is Kelly. He is leading the way in that XC2 Pro Lights class. We'll wait and see if Liam Draper was able to make up any ground. Who do we see here in the pits? Oh, Josh Toth in the pits, and looks like he is calling it a day, folks. He's having a talk with his mechanic Chuck, and he's having also their team manager, Auntie Colin, in there. He's explaining some things. Looks like the visor on that helmet is loose. He's wiping his eyes. And, folks, I could be wrong, but I think what we're seeing is Josh Toth calling it a day. Looks like he's reaching for the helmet strap. He may just – I don't know if they're having a bike issue. Nope, the bike fires up. But he is headed around back of the semi, and Josh Toth done for the day here at the Camp Coker GNCC. Disappointing day for him. He had been improving steadily since his first race in XC1 just 3 rounds ago in Florida, having a breakthrough performance just a week ago at the Full Gas in Tennessee, getting the win over his teammate Caleb Russell. Sure, that had to give him a lot of confidence and a lot of momentum coming into this weekend. Unfortunately, looks like today is going to end in a DNF for Josh Toth. Here we see the 282 factory beta of Mike Witkowski, still running in that third-place spot, as far as we know, in that XC2 Pro Lights class. Again, we thought things had gotten shaken up there. We temporarily missed Ben Kelly. We do know he is still your leader. So next we'll be waiting, we believe, for the 198 of Liam Draper. Again, his parents in from all the way from overseas, checking this out, all the way from New Zealand. They wanted to come and see Liam race, and they're here, and they're watching it live on Racer TV and here at the track. So that's great. They're going to catch a ton of the action. And I believe we've got an update from Mikey Waynes in the pits.
All right, hopefully you guys can hear me. You cut out on me a little bit. Getting you update on Josh Toth. Mechanic said he hit his head a couple laps ago or a lap ago. He's shaking up pretty bad. Felt safety-wise, best to call today, so that's going to be it for Josh Toth today. No mechanical issues or anything like that, just a nasty spill out there today.
Well, thanks for that update there, Mikey. And again, we see there is Josh Toth's bike on the stand. Some people coming around trying to check out Josh. Looked like he may have just, obviously, as he said there, shook himself up there. I think we see his dad coming in to check on him. I'm sure he's going to be just fine. He'll go and get checked out. But when you take a hard hit like that, sometimes it can just, take you off your rhythm. And when you're out there running the speed that these guys in XC1 are, if you're not quite right, sometimes the best decision, rather than trying to salvage a few points, is just to call it a day, get yourself checked out. And with the 3-week break before X Factor, we're sure we'll see Josh Toth, the number 206, back and battling with the XC1 guys here in 3 weeks. Now we see the 347 of Evan Smith back on the throttle on that Camp Coker motocross track, and we believe that is still the 4th place rider in that XC2 Pro Lights class. With Ben Kelly, we know, leading the way. We did see Mike Witkowski come by. We didn't see Liam Draper on the moto track. However, keep in mind, folks, we have to pan back and forth with the different battles we have. Here we are at the 9-mile mark, where the finish line, about the 11.5, is where we were following that battle for the lead in XC1. We very possibly may have missed Liam Draper, the 198 T-League Energy Racing KTM machine. Here we see the 404, one of our lapped riders working their way around, battling within his own class for position. And man, you can really see that moto track is starting to get rough. Ryder Lafferty, the 44 in that XC2 class. He's now out on the Camp Coker motocross track. I believe that may be 5th place in XC2. And speaking of Liam Draper, there he is, the 198 machine on screen, checking in safely in that number 2 spot. We had temporarily given him the lead, awarded him something, but who knows? There's still a lot of racing action left here, Rodney.
We're just trying to excite his mom and dad a little bit. They haven't been here to any of the races, so maybe this might be the secret for Liam Draper. Keep mom and dad here in the United States. Don't let them go back to New Zealand, and maybe that'll get the momentum and the confidence that he needs to get up there and start battling for some of those wins. And good to see that happening there with Liam, no doubt. And I've been waiting on it. Glad to finally see it. Well, Caleb Russell and Thad Duvall still going at it tooth and nail for the overall win here today. Stu Baylor, Trevor Bollinger, Josh Strang, all those guys trying to sort it out back there for third. How's it all going to pan out? We'll stick around. GNCC Live continues after this.
halfway point is here, and these riders have endured over an hour now of hard battling through the woods at extremely high heart rates, the type the average athlete couldn't even fathom for this level of distance. Can they stick with it to the end? Don't click that X. GNCC Live on RacerTV.com continues after this.
The 2019 Yamaha YXZ 1000R sets a new standard for all sports side-by-sides. Offering increased performance and expanded drivability over a wider variety of terrain. Improved overall comfort and Yamaha-proven off-road durability. There's no other side-by-side like it, not even close.
Your bearings shoulder the burden whenever you tow, haul, or stomp the gas. AMSOIL delivers powerful protection for bearings and other critical components so you can drive with confidence. To demonstrate, an independent lab put AMSOIL synthetic motor oil head-to-head against a leading competitor in a 100,000-mile test. AMSOIL provided far superior wear protection and kept engine bearings looking like new. Get your truck the protection it deserves at amsoil.com/auto.
This Racer TV broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. Specialized Turbo e-bikes. It's you, only faster. And by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready. And welcome back to GNCC Live here at Camp Coker in Society Hill, South Carolina for this fourth round of the AMSOIL GNCC series. And, of course, as we pick things back up, the action is heated, no doubt, 2 days in a row here. Russell and Duvall still battling out front for the overall position. Who's going to take that one? No one knows who's out front. Well, depends on when we see them, I guess, Johnny Gallagher, because that's the way it's been. You see them at one camera shot, one's out front, the next camera shot, it's switched.
I'll tell you what, Rodney, it really makes it exciting for the viewers at home, but it makes it absolutely treacherous for us. I mean, I kind of miss the days when we'd have a rider that would get out front, check out. It was a nice, easy race. You just kind of report on the positions on back through the pack. Where now it's pretty much you have to be on your toes the entire 3 hours. It's Russell's leading, Duvall's leading, Baylor's leading, straight. All these guys are so close. Absolutely, and it's great for the spectators and the viewers at home, and it's great for the racing action. And it really does show how these guys. You get one guy that gets out front, and everybody else just steps up their level to try and compete. And man, it's really becoming evident here on Sundays on these afternoon races where you got so many guys that are just up there battling and Bollinger, Russell, Duvall, these guys. And here we see, speaking of leaders, they are on the screen, and Thad Duvall leading the way in that XC1 class, and we believe second place there is Caleb Russell. Had just come across the screen there, and that is not one of our leaders there. But we next should be seeing Stu Baylor. Last we knew he was about 21 seconds back, and I don't know, Rodney. He may have made up not much, but he might have made up a little bit of time there.
If nothing else, he's holding steady where he was. That's for sure, and that's saying a lot when you get to this point in the race.
And that's hard to do, not only because they're so late in the race, but also, Thad and Caleb have each other to key off of.
Yeah.
So they know how fast they're going. If they're making time, they're going fast enough. If they're losing time, they need to pick it up. Where Stu really only has the pit boards and the cues that he's getting from his crew. He can't physically see the riders he's racing. Nowhere on this track other than a few of the field sections can you see 21 seconds or more ahead of you. And even at that, you're kind of guessing because you got so many turns and you're like, man, did I make up ground? And look at this, Trevor Bollinger maybe chipping away a little bit at that gap that Stu Baylor had built up over him. Last we knew he was 33 seconds behind Baylor. So maybe it's these two here that are really on the move, wanting to get themselves back up, not only battle for a podium, but maybe they want to make it a four-rider duel for the lead.
That's quite possible. We see that Jesse Ansley has checked in the XC3, so let's check and see the progress of what's going on in that one. Cody Barnes continuing to lead. The gap cut down to just 12 seconds now. A 26:08 lap time for Cody Barnes, a 25:47 for Jesse Ansley. And I don't know if Cody maybe had to pit that time around, but lost a lot of time on that particular lap. And I think this is going to be one that we're going to want to keep a very close eye on, Johnny, because we've watched this all day long. Cody had the lead. Jesse had his struggles early on, and he has
since then been inching his way closer and closer and closer to that number 1 position. So it won't be long, I don't think, for the 99 of Cody Barnes and the number 1 of Jesse Ansley in that XC3 125 class are wheel to wheel, and it will be decided on really who wants it most and who's willing to take those chances and those risks here in these closing laps.
Absolutely, and I think this race could end up looming large at the end of the season for that XC3 Pro-Am class. You know, that class, last year Jesse Ansley winning that inaugural season, or I'm sorry, Jason Thomas won the inaugural season. Yeah. But last year Jesse Ansley winning that FMF XC3 Pro-Am class, and being the defending champion, kind of a lot of people expected him to come out and somewhat dominate this season. Obviously, Jason Thomas throwing his hat back in the ring, a former champion in that class, and of every class except for XC1 that we have. And then also Cody Barnes, you know, a rider that raced that class last season, but kind of made a bike switch mid-season. He started out the season on a Yamaha, and then halfway through the season switched to that Beta, and his results got steadily better, but I really don't think anybody, maybe except for Jesse Barnes and some of the guys on that Beta team, expected him to really be kind of dominating the last 2 races the way he did and leading this one pretty much from the beginning today. But the reason why I think today looms so large is this is what we would consider a sand race. Jesse Ansley, obviously being a Florida boy, we would expect that he would be able to flex his muscle and get a win today. If Cody Barnes can hold him off, that is a huge statement. Not only has he beaten him, this would be the 3rd race in a row, but doing it on conditions that many would say would favor Jesse Ansley. Now, if Jesse Ansley can get the win, that puts those two back in a position where they're each tied with 2 wins. Granted, Cody Barnes will still have the points lead. Jesse Ansley had a bad race there in Georgia and ended up with a DNF, but still, they would each have 2 wins, which would put them kind of on an even playing field. So for both of these guys, this is a big opportunity to kind of either get the upper hand or, you know, kind of take the reins on this 2019 title in that FMF XC3 class.
It's going to be exciting. I mean, and it's not over. And the great thing about it is, I mean, this is inspiration for Barnes, and it's definitely inspiration for Jesse Ansley, because he comes into this, like you said, the defending champion. He's expected to be the one out front. And I'm not going to lie, I expected that he was going to be out front by minutes this year. For some reason, I thought that there's nobody going to touch Jesse Ansley. But the beauty of that is that other people had other things in mind, and they have brought to us a great championship battle. Like you said, 3 races into this one already, Jesse Ansley knows just how tough things can be.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it really does show the level of competition. I mean, Ansley seemingly having a pretty, I wouldn't say easy, but a pretty good handle on that championship last year. And now here we are in round 4. He's only having won 1 race, and again, taking a pretty tough defeat at the hands of Cody Barnes the last 2 races. So Ansley fighting back, trying to grab the win in that class. Barnes still leading the way in this one and still commanding the attention that a championship contender deserves. And here we see, looks like maybe one of our, no, that's a little too far back. I thought it was one of our XC2 guys. I think what we're looking at is some of our A-Rad. No, there is Jordan Ashburn, and I believe that may have been, I think that was Andrew DeLong that we saw, and he may have worked his way around Jordan Ashburn. Now, they are a ways from checking in at the completion of lap number 6. But I think, judging by the sound of things, we may have our leaders on our Camp Coker motocross track. Here's some big old 350s making some serious noise out there. We can hear it from the studio. We haven't gotten the shot yet, but we think we might soon be seeing Caleb Russell and Thad Duvall out on the Camp Coker motocross track battling. And there will be a perfect spot for us to get a split and see just how far back Stu Baylor is and Trevor Bollinger, because both of those guys are on the charge. One guy we can't say enough about again, Josh Strang. As we cut away from that shot, Strang was nearly within sight of Trevor Bollinger. So that means he is still there, very much in that battle for a podium spot. Here we see the Camp Coker moto track. There is Mikey Waynes out there. They are taking down the start area. These guys never get a rest. They work so hard to get this track all set up, and heck, they got to start tearing it down because they got to go on to the next one to get ready for round 5 at X Factor.
Yes, they do. Yes, we do, I guess I should say. I rolled in on Wednesday myself to get things set up Thursday and Friday. I did take a little time to go over to Myrtle Beach on Friday. I'm not going to lie. I went over, got a room Thursday night. Did use a little bit of a vacation. But, yeah, I mean, track crew starts rolling on Monday. I roll in on Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, get sound systems and stuff set up. And I mean, there's a lot of things that go on. You know, we were talking about this morning. One of the things that amazes me most, Johnny, it takes us a week to get this place set up, and in less than 12 hours, the place is completely torn down, and the only thing left to do is finish the reclaim and throw down some grass seed.
Yeah, that's just a testament to after a long weekend, everybody's willing to put in that, extra hard labor and work those late night hours, burn the midnight oil to get torn down so they can get home, spend some time with the family.
Exactly.
That's just how it is throughout the weekend. Everybody's on the road for so long, but we love what we do, and it's great to be here at a very classy facility like this.
Oh, man.
To have these guys open this facility to us and give us the opportunity to race on these pristine grounds and this great hunting preserve or sportsman preserve is truly a unique opportunity. And man, as beautiful as this place is, like you've mentioned many times throughout the broadcast so far, Rodney, it is treacherous as a racer. Here we see the 523 of Lane Michael. Probably not exactly the day he was hoping for, but nonetheless still solidly in the top 10 in that XC1 Pro class, meaning that a good solid day for him, not only points-wise, but also, you've got to have that starting point to be able to kind of get your bearings and see where you're at. Lane, obviously, we talked about having that crash in a road bike race, nasty crash, breaking his collarbone badly, opting to have an elective surgery to eliminate arm pump while he was off the bike. Some complications with that led to him being off the bike longer than expected, and then trying to make a comeback at Steel Creek a week ago, having one of those scars come open. But today it looks like everything's holding together for him, literally and figuratively, and he's able to put it solidly in the top 10 so far. 2 hours and 23 minutes into this one. And the leaders now are out on the Camp Coker motocross track, and as soon as we cut to that image, we'll tell you who it is.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's either Thad Duvall or Caleb Russell.
And it looks to be Thad Duvall unless Caleb has already come by that shot. So Thad Duvall is out there on the Camp Coker moto track, and we'll see here in a moment if Caleb Russell is ahead of him or behind him.
He doesn't seem to really be pushing it a whole lot, so he may have fallen behind, or he must have a really big monumental lead over who's ever behind him, which we know he's got a big lead over Stu Baylor, some 30 seconds or so at this particular point.
Now there is Baylor, so we either missed Russell or he is back in the third place spot. We'll see here in a moment.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say we missed him, is what I'm going to say.
Probably did miss. There he is. Caleb already over in the rollers. Now this is further into the track, so Caleb Russell has the lead, the number one machine out front, and we'll see what the gap is there. 47, he goes around that corner, and we'll see what the gap is back to Duvall. Not much. There is Duvall 56. So 9 seconds back to Thad Duvall. And there is Stu Baylor. Stu Baylor is really keeping this one close, folks. Now, he does still have to go all the way down to the bottom of this turn and come up the rollers. So it was 24:56 for Thad Duvall in that corner. We'll see what the gap is. We are at 20 seconds right now. So he's about stabilized that gap at 22 seconds. Now Bollinger on the moto track. This is great. We get to see these guys in all stages here. They can look over and see each other on this moto track on various portions, so they know exactly where they're at.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Bollinger doing a discount double check, looking over his shoulder there. And look what he sees. Josh Strang.
Wow.
In the fifth place spot, but wanting a piece of Bollinger for fourth.
This is interesting stuff that I see we're watching develop here right now. Stu Baylor seemingly in a comfortable spot for third place with a eye set on charging possibly the second place, but at the same time he's got to keep an eye on that rear view mirror. Bollinger and Strang are not far off the pace right now. The great thing about this is, I mean, we've got 5 of the elite riders, and though fourth and fifth may be seemingly completely out of striking distance, Stu still has a chance to advance, maybe to second, maybe to first, and we've seen it time and time again, Johnny. We've discussed it here on GNCC Live on more than one occasion. Oftentimes, Stu Baylor's last 2 laps are the fastest of the day, and if that is the case today, I mean, he could, with a few easy breaks and a good fast lap, be contending for that checker flag whenever the next 27 minutes or so rolls around. We should be seeing these leaders check in at the finish line about
There is Caleb Russell on screen. He's at the end of VP Fuels Pro row. Thad Duvall behind him. Looks like he's closed down a little bit on that 9-second gap. I'd say it's a little bit more like 5 or 6 now. We'll see Russell popping out right where those kids are standing here in about And this should be Ricky Towery with the white flag in hand, meaning one more lap, one more circuit around this brutally rough Camp Coker facility, and these guys are welcoming the opportunity to see a checkered flag, and that is not 9 seconds, Rodney. Thad has closed the gap up. We'll see what it is, but I'm going to say it's more like 5 or 6 seconds as the white flag is waving. These guys, one more lap, one more opportunity, 11.5 miles to settle the score.
5.017 is what the clock says here between Russell and Duvall, even though it visually looks so much tighter than that. It's still 5 seconds as we look back to the third place position. Again, 21 seconds was the difference a lap ago.
It's a little bit bigger is what it's gotten, Rodney, but here it is. I'm going to say it's closer to 30.
All right, as we update here, we see that Stu Baylor is 26.08 seconds. So, all right, now listen to this. Lap time, 24:11 for Russell Duvall 24:15 and 24:19 for Baylor. So they're pretty close and pretty tight. And someone keeping a close and tight eye on things, Mikey Wayne's out by the moto track.
Now, obviously, Caleb Russell out in front. I was going to say, right as they entered the motocross track, the distance between them at that time was probably 10 seconds. So as they get through the motocross track, obviously now at 5 seconds. So Thad Duvall desperately trying to close that gap. But I got to say, the sense of urgency when they came through definitely looked like it was coming out of Stu Baylor. So we'll see if Stu Baylor can't see red in that white flag and make some shake some things up here toward the end.
All right, thanks a lot, Mikey Wayne's good report there from the moto track, and you know he's right. The sense of urgency, that's what I was talking about with Thad. It didn't look like he was riding with any sense of urgency whatsoever whenever he was riding there in second place, so I wasn't real sure what was going on with him. But Stu is in doing what we kind of thought he might do, and that is be riding with that fever pitch type pace at the end of the race to try to make some gains here. And like we said, the lap times 24:11 for Russell, 24:15 for Thad Duvall, 24:19 for Stu Baylor. So his lap times are right there and consistent with those front runners, but still Caleb Russell's about 10 seconds faster on that lap. So he needs to find that 10 seconds and several more, about 30 seconds or so, I guess you could say. I think it's 31 seconds that separates now first to third place. It was, 17 seconds we were looking at a lap or two ago. Just amazing how at tight things really are, but at the same time how much more they've stretched out.
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of the tail of the tape at this point in the race. Caleb Russell pouring the coal to it, trying to get away. Thad Duvall calmly, collectedly, keeping that lead in check. We saw it at 9 seconds on the moto track, back down to 5. He's basically kind of keeping Caleb at the end of his leash there. He's not going to let him get too far away. He's not going to let him get out of sight. And if there is any urgency from Thad Duvall at this point early in the lap, it's more going to be just making sure he's on the rear wheel of Caleb Russell. Don't expect that we'll see any sense of urgency as far as him trying to get the lead. It'll be both of those guys just trying to make sure that they're within striking distance of the other, because with 11.5 miles of twisty terrain, bogs, big open fields, there's plenty of opportunities for them to make the pass, but you have to be within sight of the guy, because one little thing that I know happened quite a few times this morning is there is a bike-only section that is tight, Rodney. And if they would go in there, not wheel to wheel, and you had a lapper between, that's it. That's curtains, because it's late in the track. It's around about the 8.5, 9 mile marker, and at that point, just the simplest thing of having one lapper get between you will literally change the face of the race. You'll come out the other end with the 15 seconds, which at that point would be an insurmountable gap. So I think we're going to see Duvall and Russell wheel to wheel throughout this, and who knows, if hitting lappers in the wrong spot or Stu Baylor puts in a charge, he could be up in there battling. But still a lot of racing action left, and with 5 riders still very much in play for a podium, there's a lot of action still left to go.
Yes, there is, and then we got about 22 minutes, actually just under 21 minutes now before we expect to see our leaders check in for lap 7 complete. And right now, as you look on the lead lap, only the top 5 riders have checked in: Russell, Duvall, Baylor, Bollinger, and Strang with 6 laps complete. The gap between Bollinger and Baylor now 53 seconds, another 15 seconds back to Josh Strang. We saw, I believe, no, that's Big Kelly we see now in 6th place, but that was Josh Toth we seen over in the pits a little bit ago. So there's Big Kelly. We're expecting to see him at least a 5th place overall position. Jordan Ashburn, 6th. Andrew DeLong, 8th. 9th, Liam Draper, Lane Michael in 10th. Liam Draper. And again, expanding on the fact that Liam's mom and dad is here from New Zealand, I think that's great. Extra inspiration for baby Liam there, I guess.
And maybe we haven't talked enough. We've obviously talked about Liam a bunch, but unless I'm mistaken, we'd have to check the results. But this would be Liam's first ever XC2 podium.
Yeah.
That is a huge accomplishment for a rider that I believe this is only his second full season here in the United States. And wow, I mean, that's pretty exciting stuff right there. Anytime that first podium is just such a great feeling.
Yeah, and that's a benchmark. And once they reach that benchmark, oftentimes that we see it consistently happen time and time again. So if maybe now that Liam's sitting like looks like he's going to be on the podium, maybe this might be something we see every week. But again, we got to take into account that XC2 Pro class is so deep. The talent pool is just so ridiculously deep. I mean, we can have up to 30 riders, and on any given point, 15 or 20 of those guys could literally take the win, and it wouldn't be a surprise.
Absolutely. You know, the talent pool is so deep, and so many of those guys are so young that they're all just right there of figuring out the few little things that a guy like Ben Kelly has that's getting the wins, but they all have the speed. You know, it's the fitness, it's the racecraft, and it's the mental approach that makes all the difference in that. And once you figure it out, man, it just makes race days go a whole lot easier. You know, and another rider that's really up in there in that battle, there we see Jordan Ashburn now checking in our XC1 Pro class, and we did see Ben Kelly check in that XC2 Pro Lights class as well, I do believe. And as you said, he was still in that 6th place overall, I do believe there.
Yes.
Kelly is checked in and in 6th place overall. So Mike Witkowski, when we saw him on screen last, which was over at the finish line the last lap, so it'll be a couple minutes until we see Liam Draper, and then Witkowski was very, very close to the back. If we look at the gaps on the last lap, Mike Witkowski was dangerously close to Liam Draper. He was only 30 seconds behind him, trying to claw at that 2nd place spot in that XC2 Pro Lights class. So Liam comfortably in a podium position because they have a little bit of a gap over the 4th place rider, which last we knew was Austin Lee, who was only 43 seconds back of Witkowski. So still, you know, Liam and Mike better stay on the gas, or Austin Lee's going to try and get up in there and steal one of those podium positions away. But, and there we see the 282 of Mike Witkowski out on that Camp Coker Moto track. And I'll tell you what, that is one tired rider right there. Earlier in the race, we saw him doubling all the way through those rollers. Right now, just doesn't have the energy to do it.
I mean, come on. I mean, the good thing about it today is the temperature isn't hot and humid like it was yesterday. Can you imagine these guys trying to go through these conditions for 3 hours, what you guys had to go through yesterday for 2 on the 4 wheels? I mean, that had to be rough. I mean, the track was one thing. So these guys have gotten a big break as far as temperatures are concerned, and I think that's lent itself to the kind of racing we're seeing today. People aren't getting completely zapped and drained, even though the racetrack is challenging and it's got its obstacles and whatever you want to call it. It's energy zapping, but it doesn't take nearly as much out of you because that heat factor isn't there, I believe.
No, I agree 100%. You know, the heat and the humidity it's another factor. I mean, this track is rough. With the rain we had, the conditions are brutal. The track is just so rough, so power robbing. It takes so much out of you. As we watch Lane Michael, the 523 machine, working his way through the finish line chicane, he will be greeted with a white flag, and that will be a welcome sight for that young man. One more lap, and it'll be his first GNCC finished in the 2019 season after a rough start, again sitting out with injury, and not only finished, but finished solidly in the top 10 is where he sits right now. But yeah, absolutely. You know, the heat is just another factor that just makes it that much tougher. And with these guys, you know, I don't know. It's a toss-up. I don't know if I would rather have yesterday's 80-degree temps and, you know, or today have to race 3 hours.
Either way,
it's tough. But I tell you what, they're lucky not to have the 3 hours and the temperatures that we had yesterday, because that would have just turned these guys absolutely inside out.
Well, you can't tell by looking at the TV screen, but right now winds are starting to pick up as it feels like another front may be moving through the area. Johnny, I may mention a couple of times we've been skirted by a couple of storms already. Was watching radar prior to the start and tracking those storms leading into the start itself. We saw that they were on track to just barely skirt us, maybe a few rain showers. One thing, we really haven't seen any rain falling. All we've gotten is some wind and cooler temperatures on occasion. We've got about 15 more minutes or so, and we might get through this race, a dry race day, and no rain, no mud for these riders out on this course. However, last 15 minutes, a tow strangler come along. Man, can you imagine the havoc that could play right now?
Wait a minute, timeout. Did you? Here we see Liam Draper, the 198 machine, still second in that XC2 Pro Lights class. But this is going to be one to watch, Rodney. Out on the moto track, it looks like Draper, Witkowski, and our fourth place rider, Austin Lee. All those gaps are starting to tighten up or stabilize. But in this final lap of racing, these guys are all just absolutely exhausted. And this is where they're really going to have to dig and dig and dig some more to determine who of those three gets to hold on to what is. Oh, look at this. Witkowski has gotten around Draper. Witkowski into the number 2 spot. Draper in third, now in danger of losing a podium because not far behind. We'll see what the gap is to Austin Lee. He was within sight on the moto track. So is Liam Draper running out of steam?
That's interesting because Austin Lee did have a 43-second gap up to Mike Witkowski at the end of the last lap. So either Draper slowed down or Austin Lee might have picked it up a little bit here in the closing moments, which wouldn't be a surprise either, I don't think. But
did Lee check in with 6 laps complete yet? There he
is.
is.
Yes, he did. He did.
So he is.
See, Austin Lee is now 21.8 seconds, 22 seconds behind Liam Draper.
So 21 seconds from a podium, and he was
26:02 lap time for Austin Lee. Get this, a 26:54 lap time for Liam Draper. What happened to Liam Draper to slow him? I mean, that was a big slowdown right there, Johnny. And
I'll tell you what, I was watching when we saw him on screen there. He looks like he is real tired.
That's what I was going to say. We mentioned that, and I think riding at this pace and this level up here at this ferocity for 3 solid hours, it is taking its toll on him. But you know what? This is a great experience for him because we know that he knows that he can do it now, and he knows what he's got to do to get to this point and stay at this point. There's Cody Barnes, leader of that X.
No, Jesse Ansley came by more than 30 seconds ago.
Really?
Ansley is by and already through the rollers, was still doubling through the rollers at this point. So Ansley really flexed his muscle on that lap. He turned what was an 8 or a 9 second deficit into 12 second deficit.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Rodney, he's going to have nearly a minute on Cody Barnes at the end of this lap.
Wow, and he'd only turned the last lap around about a 23-second faster lap time, 21-second faster lap time than Cody Barnes. So, man, he really found some speed.
Caleb Russell on screen. There is your leader, and this is coming out at about the 5.5-mile marker. So they are halfway through this final lap of racing. Caleb Russell hard on the throttle. Right there in his shadow is Thad Duvall, the 989 machine. And wow, folks, this one is still close. They just can't seem to get away from each other. Thad Duvall in that number 2 spot. Caleb Russell leading the way.
Well, we should be seeing Stu Baylor coming in here pretty soon, and we're going to get a bird's eye view as to whether or not Bollinger's able to close that gap, and I believe that may be him there now.
That is. There is Stu Baylor, the 514 machine, hard on the throttle, and he's looking across that field, hoping to see an opportunity to grab a win, hoping to see Caleb Russell, hoping to see Thad Duvall. But right now, all he's seeing is empty field because those guys are out front and gone. They have checked out. A little bit on him there. It looks to be still around that 26, 27 second mark. So they haven't really pulled him anymore, but still he is not within striking distance. He has opened up the gap a little bit, though, over the 4th place of Trevor Bollinger. Bollinger was still slightly close enough that he could see him in these fields, but right now, what you're not seeing, folks, if you turn the camera the other way, Stu Baylor is out of the fields now.
Yeah.
So when Bollinger comes out and has a look here, that just means that all he sees is empty fields.
Yep.
That's a disheartening sight when you're trying to track down a podium. Trevor Bollinger is going to see empty fields and no Stu Baylor, and know that unless he can pull off something miraculous in the final 4 miles of racing, he is going to have to settle for a 4th place spot. I'll tell you what, though, as far back as we've come, we may see Josh Strang next. Nope, there is Bollinger, the 739 machine. He's in the field, and we may see Josh Strang coming here real soon. Bollinger doing a look over his shoulder again. He wants to know where that 114 Babbitt's Online Kawasaki's at.
Well, we'll see. We'll wait here for just a second and see just exactly where he is, possibly. Looks like a little bit of distance starting to open up there as well, but there he is. Josh can still see, I think, the rider ahead of him right now, but looks like he's not in any senses. Actually, that's not Josh Strang. That's a Kawasaki, but that wasn't. I was going to say, man, he's not riding like any sense of urgencies whatsoever, but there's Josh Strang. That's another Kawasaki, and that's the Babbitt's Online Team Green machine we're talking about. Look at how challenging that hole is starting to become there. That would look like just a little wet spot, and now it seems to have really gained a lot of more moisture there. There has to be a spring or something that's pumping water into that section of the track.
Absolutely. That section was wet even when we pedaled it on Friday, and it's only gotten worse as the weekend went on. You know, Strang sitting in that 5th place spot, I can't imagine that he's going to be doing backflips after this one. Happy about it, but I tell you what, this is a huge step in the right direction for Josh Strang. And I wouldn't be surprised to see if this is the finish, this is the day that catapults him back into contention for podiums here very, very soon.
Right, and I have to say I'm going to echo that same sentiment, I think, for Liam Draper as far as the results that he's getting today. This might be the stage setter for what we can see in the future. This might make him hungry.
Well, I'm gonna actually go not against you, but I'm gonna throw some in there. Liam Draper needs to hang on for that podium. Today is the day that he needs to make it happen.
You're absolutely right.
And I'm not saying it's the end of the world if he doesn't, but today he has led this race. He was sat comfortably in second for the entire race up until 2 hours and 40 minutes into this thing where Witkowski was able to wrestle that second place spot away. He has to dig the claws into Witkowski. Even if he does not pass him back and can only hang on for third, Liam Draper needs to be on the podium today. If he doesn't, that gives Austin Lee, a rider who's been struggling throughout the first part of this season, you know, that motivation, that confidence, and that taste of victory champagne on the podium. Liam Draper needs to make this happen today. Liam, you know, I'm telling you right now, I know you can't hear me, but when you watch this, I'm telling you right now, buddy, this is a season changer for you. You got to dig deep, and you got to hang on to that 3rd place spot if you want this season to keep an upward trend.
Season changer. I like that statement. By the way, checking in with our top amateurs as we're now about 8 minutes out from checker flag flying expected. We try to watch our top non-XC 1, 2, and 3 riders to see how they're doing, and as we check in here, Simon Johnson out of Bennington, Vermont, 250A class leader, the rider number 29. He got the whole shot in that one. I don't think he's looked back since then. He has a 17-second lead over Bryce Coster, who is 27th overall and second as far as top amateurs. And Brody Johnson, who is third in the class, is 28th overall out of Landrum, South Carolina. So that's our top 3 non-XC 1, 2, or 3 riders right now. And they all 3 come from the 258 class, being led right now by Simon Johnson, Johnny.
Absolutely. That's a rider out of the New England states. We saw some great performances from him at the end of the 2018 season, carrying that momentum in here, round 4 of the 2019 season, backed by that Trail Jesters squad. Here is, looks to be, there is your XC2 Pro Lights leader of Ben Kelly on a tear, and at this point with a insurmountable lead, I would say, at this point in that XC2 Pro Lights class. You know, this is a rider that is really just trying to score overall points. I mean, obviously the main focus is to win the XC2 class, but barring major catastrophe, he's got that handled today. He's got, what was his lead last lap on Mike Witkowski?
5 minutes, 52 seconds.
Yeah, so six minutes, give or take, and I think that based on the intensity we're seeing him ride with and how worn down Witkowski and Draper and Austin Lee look to be, I think we're going to see that lead get even bigger. I wouldn't be surprised to see upwards of 7 minutes at the end of this one for Ben Kelly, but he's at this point trying to scrap for overall points. He wants to do everything he can.
And again, pointing out lap times for Liam Draper and Austin Lee right now. Austin Lee turning a 26:02 last time around, a 26:54, so a full 52 seconds faster was Austin Lee. And again, we go back to that fatigue level. And Johnny, I mean, come on. Liam's raced 3 hour races this season. Why would he be more tired this time than ever before so far?
Well, I think it comes down to the intensity. I mean, he has been up front, you know, leading this race. That's a whole lot of mental focus to lead and to battle with a guy the caliber of Ben Kelly. You know, and Liam's certainly capable of it, but this is the first time we've seen him actually put it in play and make it happen. So I'm sure that took a lot out of him mentally, which in turn wears on you physically. So this is a new experience for him. I'm sure he'll go home, regardless of how today ends up. It's a step in the right direction, but I'm still going to stick to my guns, and I say Liam needs to dig deep and needs to figure out a way to hang on to that podium spot. He cannot give that spot up to Austin Lee. Obviously, if you're Austin Lee, he needs to get that podium spot. So that right now, I mean, Mike Witkowski, I believe, has been on the podium or top 4 every race so far this year.
Yep.
So, yes, I mean, for Witkowski, a second is great. It's a good day. That's what he came here to do. He obviously wants to try and close that gap and battle Ben Kelly for a win. But I think where the real kind of need to get it done, need to dig in your heels comes with Austin Lee and Liam Draper. These are two guys that each absolutely need a podium today to get their season to where they need it to be.
You're absolutely right, both of them. About 5 minutes left to go, and we just got reports that that last little front system that went by with that wind and stuff, no more rain in the forecast now. So it's all skirted us, and we've been blessed with another great day of racing here.
I'll tell you what, there may be no rain in the forecast, but I can tell you right now there's thunder. And it's the thunder of two 350cc race machines headed out to that Camp Coker motocross track. And two of the best motocross racers in the off-road world are going to do battle on that Hank Murray's motocross track, and it's very possibly could turn out to be a deciding factor in this one, and we're just moments away from seeing it all unfold.
No doubt.
Caleb Russell leading the way, Thad Duvall second, and this could turn out to be a wheel-to-wheel, inside, outside, full-blown block pass battle throughout that moto track.
We'll see the riders coming up on the moto track here in just a few moments, which will be the 10-mile marker. Of course, that'll be the start area, actually the 9.5 around that area. And then we've got the moto track, which is right there in that same general vicinity. We'll watch them through that area to the finish, actually through the pro pits and then to the finish line at the 11.5. What we got, Johnny?
Caleb Russell on screen on the moto track, and what is the gap? Nothing. There is nothing in it. They are just about wheel to wheel. Thad Duvall wiping his goggles mean he is out of tear-offs. He is down to having to wipe the debris away from his goggles. Caleb Russell leading the way, Thad Duvall second, and folks, this one is going to come down to the wire.
Well, right now you got to wonder what is going through the mind of Thad Duvall as he lays sight on the rear fender of the number 1 of Caleb Russell, knowing that he won just 2 weeks ago from a position nearly like this, and last year lost in the same type of conditions and position 1 year ago here at Camp Coker. So right now it's a day of redemption of sorts for the number 1 of 981.
Whoa! Stu Baylor on screen. He has closed up that gap. That is not 21 seconds, folks. He is within 15 seconds or less coming onto the Camp Coker moto track.
Wow, I didn't realize that was Stu, how quickly he had gotten up to him. I thought it was another shot real quick of Caleb for just a second. Then it dawned on me, but wow. Again, these riders really starting to tighten up. This is what we were expecting and hoping for as the race wore on and we got closer to the conclusion of this one and checker flag flying. The gap, technically some 5 seconds or so if you talk about it from a standpoint of the clock. But we know as well as anything, the clock doesn't necessarily tell the tale until it's at the end of the lap. That 5 seconds can be made up very, very quickly.
Rodney, we're going to physically see these guys outside of our Racer TV studio here in the next 5 to 10 seconds.
There's Grant Baylor, Grizzly Grant, if you will, who is still out on this one due to some, I believe, shoulder problems, if he's still suffering from those, if I'm not mistaken.
And there is Bollinger on screen, but what we are seeing outside of the Racer TV studios right now is Caleb Russell leading the way, Thad Duvall just a few seconds back, and can Stu Baylor continue to chip away at that gap? He is still stabilized. Rodney, I just don't think Stu Baylor has enough time left. These guys are just a mere 10 to 15 turns away from the finish. What a valiant effort put in by Baylor, but I don't believe he's going to get close enough to make a play at this point.
Going to run out of real estate. We're less than a minute now from the finish line, or right at a minute from the finish line. They'll be going through the pro pits. Don't know that we'll get a shot on that pro pit section, but what we will get is those closing turns as these riders begin to make their way down to the finish line chicanes themselves. And we're about to get another winner, our 4th win here in 2019. Of course, we've had 3 different winners leading into this one. The big question, would we have a 4th different winner today, or would we have a second two-time, or would we have our first 2-time winner of the day? And the thing is, we've got 2 riders that are vying for it right now, and Caleb Russell looks like he might be the first 2-time winner of 2019. But man, look how quick and feverishly the 989 of Thad Duvall is closing up on the rear wheel of the number 1 of Caleb Russell as they wind their way through the trees. That gap has more than been cut in half from 2.5 seconds now down to 1.5 seconds as they find their way through the trees looking for the chicane. Can Thad Duvall find a wheel to get up and under Caleb Russell? He's still got a few feet, but look at this. The gap continues to shrink. Thad Duvall's getting closer. Only a couple of turns left to go, but Caleb Russell will hold him off to make it his 2nd win in 2019 and back-to-back here at Camp Coker for 2017 or 2018 and 2019. And wow, a securing of the points lead here after 4 rounds of racing. And who would have thought that red background number plate, white background number plate switch would have been so monumental and so important to these guys right now. Look at that. Right behind them, not far off the pace, finishes Stu Baylor in the number 3 spot. The tail of the tape says 21.9 seconds, but you know as well as I do the heart and the fever at which Stu rode at in that last lap. Man, he had to be closer at times, and the effort that he just exerted out there. A 23-minute, 48-second lap time. He was the fastest rider to ball at 23:52. Caleb Russell, a little slower than both those guys at a 23:56, but it was just enough to take that overall win.
You got to wonder, obviously Caleb Russell ecstatic right now. Thad Duvall probably disappointed, but surely could not be upset with the ride he put in. Those guys laid it all on the line. But the day of woulda, coulda, shouldas has to belong to Stu Baylor.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a rider that was able to match the pace of the two of the fastest guys in the world, knowing Stu Baylor it very much belongs in that category, but to do it without ever being in contact with them all day. He did it from behind. He was chasing a ghost. He was chasing numbers on a pit board. If Stu Baylor could have got up in that battle a little bit earlier, I think this could have been a 3-rider battle through the final turns. 4th place on the day, certainly not the ride he was looking for, but nonetheless, a great points day. Trevor Bollinger, the 739 machine, crossing the finish line here, and he is going to hang on for that 4th place spot. Josh Strang not far behind in 5th, but Bollinger, I think, is a rider that really wants to be on the podium and will not be happy with this performance. But man, what a tough day it was for all these guys.
No doubt. A lot of challenges set out before these guys today. A lot of questions about track conditions. I mean, we had an idea of what it was going to be like, but we weren't sure about what the weather was going to do. You just had to take that risk and that gamble. Were you going to try to prepare for things to be wet, or were you going to go for it and see what happened and come what may? And it looks like the majority of the guys just risked it and went with a normal race setup and didn't really try to adjust for any inclement conditions, which seemed to pay off, I think, a lot for these guys in monumental ways in the end.
Here we see the leader of that XC2 Pro Lights class, Ben Kelly, and man, he has an insurmountable lead in that XC2 Pro Lights class, but he is clawing and biting and trying to get every position he can in the overall. But I tell you what, he is far more than a minute away from the finish, and there is Strang. So Strang will be solidly in that 5th place spot in XC1 and also 5th place overall. No way Ben Kelly can cover the ground that he would need to cover to finish ahead of Josh Strang, even after that 1 minute of time correction. But still, a solid day if he ends up in that 6th place overall spot for Ben Kelly.
Hey, I got to say, again, we got to commend Josh Strang, though it's a 5th place position finish, and saying it like that sounds kind of strange, but like you said, I mean, this was a strong 5th place finish. This was not one of those, not a 5th place finish where you can say, oh yeah, well, I got 5th. No, you say, I got 5th. I earned 5th. I deserved 5th today because he worked hard for that one.
And if you look at the gap from the leader to Josh Strang, the total time was, Rodney?
As we do the time assessments here, we're looking at 52 2 minutes and 46 seconds.
So 2 minutes and 46 seconds. Josh Strang is going to go back and say, all right, I can find it. That is very much a manageable amount of time to make up in a 3-hour race.
It is, especially if you can gain sight of those leaders early on and not lose that extra 15 or 20 seconds a lap. And you gain that extra 15 that's 30 seconds more. So that gets you that 2-3 minutes that we're talking about in a matter of no time out there. So you're absolutely right. Well, I'll tell you what a day of racing, no doubt. We've seen a lot of great things. We're still waiting to see whether or not Liam Draper is going to be able to hang on to a podium position finish in the XC2 250 Pro class. We're also waiting to see what's going to happen in that XC3 class as things have really heated up here for round 4 in the CST Tires Camp Coker Bowl at GNCC. Folks, stick around. We have podium presentations, also the finish of the rest of this race, and more when GNCC Live continues right after this.
We are American Motorcyclists. We are members of the American Motorcyclist Association. Racers, fans, and crew. We come together for this sport we love, to race together, to grow together. We start young, and not so young. We race motorcycles and ATVs. We become friends, we become family. We compete for weekend bragging rights and national championships. We make memories on the toughest off-road courses in the country and on the best motocross tracks in the world. Some of us aspire to the speed and poise of road racing or the fierce competitiveness of American flat track, and we honor our greatest champions in the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame. Through it all, we cheer, we win, and we lose. We are racing. We are the AMA. Race with us. Be part of the greatest sport in the world. Be an American motorcyclist. Join us today at www.amajoin.com/join-now.
Hey, this is Garrett with CST Tires. We're here at every single GNCC race, but we're the title sponsor for Camp Coker Bullet Rounds. We're excited to be here. We got a lot of sponsored riders here. We're excited to see them throughout the day. We got mounting going on over there. We mount tires, balance tires. If it's a CST tire, we do it for free, but we'll do any other tire for $15. So we're excited to be able to come out here and be a part of that. We got some of our tires on display back here. So we just like meeting people, meeting racers, and kind of helping them out with anything that they need, any questions that they have, and we're hoping to see a lot of action here today. If you guys want to come on down, we're selling a lot of tires today at really good prices, much better than dealer level. So we're hoping to hook you guys up with some tires. Also, we've got contingency plans going for anyone racing our tires. Have some decals on your vehicle, and we will give you a contingency form, and we'd love to reward you for representing our tires and having a podium finish. We love supporting our riders, sponsored or non-sponsored. We would love to meet everyone, and if you guys have any needs for tires, please come down, see us, get some CST tires today.
And welcome back to GNCC Live as we check out the action from last night. AJ Sanders, kind of a local talent on the Monster Energy stage in our first of a round of Monster Energy concerts here in 2019 for the AMSOIL GNCC series, and of course real good down-home country music. The story kind of telling country music. Had a chance to talk with him yesterday during the show. Got to catch his show last night, and man, what a great show he put on, no doubt. Thanks to AJ. Thanks to Monster Energy for bringing us some great excitement. And let's head on down to the finish line right now, where I think Mikey Waynes might be standing by with some of our top finishers.
Stu Baylor. Stu, an absolute tough grinding it out kind of race here at Camp Coker.
Yeah, I'm not happy with it at all. We just had more issues, and I'm really getting frustrated. The last three races, I feel like I've been there. I've had the speed. I would almost guarantee we had some of the fastest laps, and definitely the fastest last lap. But, I was playing catch up all day, and 3 fuel stops. That sucks. We need a bigger tank, and just had some other issues there at the end, and not happy with it. We're gonna come back stronger next time. Don't like third.
On to the next one, X Factor, man. We're going to see you at the center of the box.
God, I hope so. We had a really good race going there last year, and little issue that threw me back to the back of the pack, and had some good laps there, but it seems to be my issue. I guess maybe I'm a head case. I don't know, but I can't seem to put a whole race together. If it's not me, it's the bike, and it's just it's been tough. So I worked my ass off all week and come to the races ready to go, and just stupid shit. I came from 40 down to 10 down to 40 down to 10 down, and it was just all day long. So not happy with it.
There you go, Stu Baylor taking third here today at the Camp Coker.
Wow, and like Johnny Gallagher says, at least he's honest. I mean, there was no sugarcoating that. There's no doubt about it. Stu Baylor is very upset. And, that's a good indication. Most people will be elated, Johnny. Maybe a year ago, Stu would have been so super excited to have gotten a third-place position. But you heard him talking about it, and we've seen it happen already 3 or 4 times this year. The latter part of the race, Stu is the faster guy. He's putting the faster laps in. It's just that he's got to get it all put together to start getting those wins.
Absolutely, Rodney, and that's what I said when I said today was a day of coulda, woulda, shouldas for Stu Baylor. I didn't mean as an insult. I meant it as a compliment. I mean, if a few things had gone his way, he very possibly could have been wheel-to-wheel with those guys, or maybe even ahead leading the pack.
Let's head down to Mikey Waynes at the winner's circle with Thad Duvall.
Hey, guys, down here with Thad Duvall. Thad picking up the second place. That was an absolute wild finish. You and Caleb coming down in through the chicane right into the finish, man.
Yeah, for sure. It was, man, it was a long race. I just felt like lap after lap, and the track got super rough, and it was just hard to deal with all the lappers. They were doing the best they could. It was just pretty ruddy. It was hard to get out of the way, and yeah, actually Caleb kind of got me at the beginning of the last lap, and I was able to catch him over here. He kind of got bottled up with a lapper, and then it was on from there. It was full sprint. So just, yeah, I should be happy with second, just a little disappointed. I felt like I put in a good race and just wasn't very comfortable all day. So to get second is good, and, just on the X Factor we go.
On the X Factor. And now, if I remember right, did you pick up the win there last year? Or was it the year before? It's the year before. But you do have a win going into X Factor. So what's the mindset heading in there?
Yeah, I really like that place. It's a cool atmosphere. It's big deer, and I love big deer. So, yeah, hopefully I can get that big deer trophy again this year and get another win and go from there.
There you go. Go get that second mount in a couple weeks. Thad Duvall.
All righty, thanks a lot, Mikey. And there is Jordan Ashburn. Man, I think the tale of today's race is right there on that face, my friend.
I don't think I've ever been happier to see a checkered flag in my life than I was yesterday.
And Mikey Wayne's down with Caleb Russell, our winner now.
Yeah, okay, we are live. Having trouble here and down here. So Caleb Russell, man, gnarly race. You come away second win of the season. This one wasn't too easy. Thad, right on your heels there at the end.
Yeah, it was a brutal race. I wish it would have kept raining. It'd been nice and cool and leisurely ride, but man, it's that rain was pretty gnarly there for us riding. It seemed like it was raining pretty hard. It might not have been, but it going fast in it feels like it's really pounding on you. But it made the track really good and a lot of lines. And I put the hammer down there the first 3 laps or so, and I tried to see if I could get away. And then after we gassed, I seen Thad was right on me, and we just kind of cruised. I thought I was trying to let Stu catch up, but I don't know what happened. He wasn't really closing in. He closed in a little bit, then me and Thad wicked it back up and left him in the dust.
There you go. Caleb Russell taking a convincing win here at the Camp Coker Bullet.
Well, there you have it. Sounds like little line games going on right there, Johnny. I mean, I know that was an interesting statement.
if nothing else, you can always count on both Stu and Caleb for the sound bites. If this was what is that ESPN show where they do the the da-da-da Sports Center.
Yeah.
Those are the GNCC Sports Center clips right there. Caleb Russell making it known that he was trying to let Stu catch up, and Stu making it known that if he hadn't had his issues, he'd have won today. So it's those guys always seem to be taking shots at each other, friendly shots, but
right.
Nonetheless, great racing action here today. And as we look and see, it looks like Ben Kelly does end up in that 6th place overall spot, winning that XC2 Pro Lights class. Witkowski able to hang on for the 2nd place spot in that XC2 Pro Lights class. And if we look and see, Austin Lee gets around Liam Draper and takes that final podium spot in the XC2 Pro Lights class. So Draper not able to hang on to that one, but still an excellent ride for him.
Hey. Yeah, like you said, I mean, still a monumental day for him, Johnny. You said it a few minutes ago. This was a day that he needed that podium, but in general, I think he needed this ride today too.
And Lane Michael, we see that name there. Jordan Ashburn in the 8th place. Well, we can't skip over Andrew DeLong, a season best finish in 7th overall, I do believe there. Yeah. Again, Josh Strang in 5th, Ben Kelly 6th, Andrew DeLong 7th, Jordan Ashburn in 8th, Lane Michael with a season best performance. Well, the only race that he's finished yet so far this season, but a solid 9th place overall, and that would put him 8th place in that XC1 Pro Lights class. Mike Witkowski with a great ride in the 10th place overall position and 2nd place in that XC2 Pro Lights class. Well, last thing I think we have to settle here is exactly who is going to grab the win in that XC3 Pro-Am class.
Well, I tell you, looking at it right now, looks like Jesse Ansley with a 1:34 lead over Cody Barnes, and Anthony Federico another 7 minutes and 46 seconds back in 30 at a 5-minute lead over Chase Copel. So we're going to go out on a limb and say Ansley
Barnes and Federico will be your top 3 in the FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am class. And that's going to wrap things up here from Society Hill, South Carolina. Johnny, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks for the great insight that you gave us, and of course, the great race call as well. It's been a great pleasure here, and looking forward to working with you again here in a few weeks when we head to the X Factor.
Absolutely. 3 weeks' time, we'll be back at it. Can't wait to do it all over again.
Well, on behalf of Johnny Gallagher, our good buddy Mikey Waynes, and all of us here at RacerTV.com, I'm Rodney Tomlin. Have a great day, everybody.